Good evening. It is 6:30 p.m. Members of council are assembled. When you're ready to go.
Okay, I'm going to call to order this meeting. It's a regular council meeting, Town of Saugeen Shores. It's Monday, April the 27th, 2026. And good evening and welcome to everyone who's here and those people who are watching. And again, I'd like to call this regular meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. I now look to the Vice Deputy Mayor to read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which consists of the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawa, unceded First Nation. We understand this land holds immense significance to the people of Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. We appreciate those who live and work alongside us today and who continue the traditions of their ancestors as stewards of the land we are privileged to inhabit. We thank them for the contribution they have made in both caring for the land and in shaping this community. We commit to truth and reconciliation, to acknowledging the truth about what happened to Indigenous peoples because of colonization, and to reconciliation, which begins with each and every one of us. As a local government and public organization, we are dedicated to learning about Indigenous culture, to fostering a better relationship with First Nations and their people, and we commit ourselves to actions that move us forward on a path to healing, along with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation.
Thank you. At this point on the agenda, you can declare a pecuniary interest if you have one. So are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? And Councillor Davinsky?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a pecuniary interest in 12.6 on the consent agenda. I reside in one of the condo complexes that is grandfathered for garbage and blue box collection.
Thank you for that. Is there any others at this time? Go ahead, Councillor Stack.
It's just, sorry, I'm just looking up the item number. NII is in here, right? Is NII in here, this one? 12.8. So just in the communications, my employer is the chair of the board.
Anyone else? You can declare now or at any point during the meeting. Okay, seeing none. There are no additions, deletions, or amendments to this evening's agenda. And we have, go ahead, Councillor Mayette.
Madam Chair, before we go with approving the agenda, I would like to make a motion that we move item 12.6, which is the Eagle Court item, up to the top of the agenda. There's a lot of people that are waiting here, and at its present location, we won't get to it till quite late in the evening.
Does anyone have any objections to that? So where are we going to put it? Right after the delegation. Yes. So it'll show up in between 8.3 and 9, so right after the delegations.
Very good, thank you.
And I thought you were going to say something about day of mourning, which is tomorrow. Anyway, is there anything else? Okay, so there are no other additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda. So we do not have any minutes. We do have one speaker who indicated an interest in speaking during open forum. So it's related to 12.6 on the agenda. So Mr. Armchuk, if you could come up to the mic and please just identify yourself. Thank you. Well, I'm being encouraged to remind you that you have 3 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Acting Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, councillors, and staff. I was caught a little flat-footed. Didn't realize there was an open mic tonight, or I would have really prepared. However, I'll spend my 3 minutes and say my 2 cents worth. My name is David Armchuk, as everyone is aware, and I am the president of BSCC number 42, better known as Eagle Court. We have been here before council before, so I think most people are aware of me and our situation. Several months ago, the owners of Eagle Court submitted a petition to council, which was discussed at length, then provided to staff for further study. To summarize the petition, Westlinks has developed 2 condo corporations, Fairway Lane, which is BSCC number 37, and Eagle Court, which is BSCC number 42. They are adjacent and they are phase 1 and phase 2. The condominiums on Fairway Lane, known as phase 1, are on a municipal road. They receive all municipal services. That is garbage, that's snow plowing, that's street sweeping, and any other of the municipal services that go along with that. Phase 2 that was developed, that was Eagle Court, was apparently determined to be a private road, and they get no municipal services. Yet the owners on Eagle Court look over at Fairway Lane. We pay the same taxes, we have the same places, and yet we can't get the municipal services. The petition, which was received by staff, was very specific to Eagle Court, as this is the only development, and I'll repeat, the only development in Saugeen Shores that has 2 policies for 1 development adjacent. No other condominium in Saugeen Shores has this issue. So we're not looking to revamp the condo rules of Saugeen Shores. We're looking for equity. And it's got to the point where we cannot even get recycle, which is supposed to be a given for every owner in Ontario. Yet, Eagle Court cannot get their recycle picked up. What I'm asking you is to consider the fact that we have 2 condominiums side by side. As a matter of fact, my place is probably less than 50 yards across the street from Fairway Lane from somebody who is paying the same taxes and getting all the services, and we're just asking for a little equity. We're not asking for a study of Saugeen Shores. We're not asking for who gets what here and there. It's the equity, because there was a policy that was made some time ago that none of us were aware of that put us in this position. So having said that, I would, right now, we would be very pleased if we could even get garbage pickup, which is providing us a headache. There is so little private pickup, and what there is unreliable, and we're not even sure where the recycle in that garbage pickup goes. So we're just asking you to consider that at this evening's meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Armchuk. We have 3 delegations, and each delegation has 10 minutes to speak, and I'll try and give you a little warning around about the 9-minute mark. So first up is Michelle Hunter, and she is going to speak about garlic mustard in our community and the remediation efforts that she is championing. And I think Rosa is with you. Is that Rosa?
Yeah,
just-
my name's Michelle Hunter, and this is my garlic mustard partner, Rosa Payette. And I know it said my husband was my partner, but he is only in marriage. So, do we have a slide? This is a picture from last year of just a few of us picking wild garlic mustard in Beaner's Bush. And next slide. We also want to thank the acting mayor and members of council for the opportunity to speak about garlic mustard, one of Ontario's most aggressive invasive plants. This species is spreading rapidly in our region and across North America and poses a serious threat to our forests, biodiversity, and long-term ecological health. Next slide. What is garlic mustard? This is a picture of our first year plants, and you'll see them all over the place. They form low green rosettes. Garlic mustard is a biennial herb introduced from Europe in the 1800s for culinary and medicinal purposes. And yeah, you can see that if you go out and take a look, there are a lot of lookalikes. For example, native violets and ground ivy are some. Second slide. Next. This is a picture of second year plants, and these will appear in mid to late May. And they grow 30 to 100 centimeters tall. They have small white 4-petaled flowers. Next slide. The leaves smell like garlic when they're crushed. Each plant can produce hundreds to thousands of seeds, which remain viable in the soil for 5 years. It's spread by foot traffic on trails, pets and wildlife, contaminated soil, and garden dumping. According to the Invasive Species Center from Ontario and the Ontario Invasive Plant Council, garlic mustard is now widespread across southern and central Ontario. It can enter, establish itself, and become the dominant plant in the forest understory in 5 to 7 years. Next slide. Why is garlic mustard a problem? Well, it crowds out our native plants. It's not just another weed. It has a negative effect on our forest ecosystems. It has no natural enemies in North America. It crowds out our native plants. It forms dense stands that outcompete our native wildflowers, tree seedlings, rare woodland species. This reduces our biodiversity and disrupts natural forest regeneration. Once established, it can double in every 4 years. Next slide. It alters the soil chemistry. Garlic mustard releases chemicals into the soil, which prevents the native plants from growing. Next slide. Garlic mustard reduces wildlife habitat. Many native insects and pollinators cannot use garlic mustard as a food source. This affects our native butterflies, ground nesting birds, and small mammals. The result is a decline in ecosystem health and resilience. Next slide. Why does this matter locally? Well, it is everywhere. It's in our municipality. We have garlic mustard present in our parks, our forests, probably your own backyard. And that's just a picture in Beaner's Bush, how much there is. Next slide. This is a picture of just one 2-hour pulling of garlic mustard. All of those bags, you can see how much there was. What can municipalities do? Early detection and rapid response. Map and monitor infestations, prioritize removal in high-value natural areas. Manual removal means hand pulling before the seed is set in late spring. Bagging and proper disposal, which does not include composting. It has to be taken to the landfill. Public education, awareness campaigns, volunteer removal events, and to prevent the spread, cleaning equipment after the use, and discouraging homeowners from dumping yard waste into public lands. Next slide. And we have a before and after picture, but they're actually reversed. So if you, yeah, I just picked that up this morning. This is an example in Beaner's Bush last year of a before and after, and that might have taken a half an hour to an hour with 2 or 3 of us.
3 hours, or sorry, 3 people, 2 hours.
Okay.
That was about 40 feet by 15 feet wide. That many man hours to remove that much.
We initially identified garlic mustard growing alongside the rail trail in 2022. We organized a last-minute pull along the rail trail and soon realized the amount of garlic mustard was overwhelming and minimal progress was made. We met with Frank Burrows, the park manager at that time, and came up with a plan for 2023. Frank suggested that we focus on protected woodland areas primarily. These included Beaner's Bush, Woodland, and Shipley Trail. By 2024, we decided to focus mostly on Beaners Bush and Shipley as the number of volunteers was not sufficient to cover all of these areas. We have established a Facebook page and a messenger chat group called, the Facebook page is called Garlic Mustard Challenge of Saugeen Shores, and the messenger chat group is called Saugeen Shores Invasive Volunteers. These social media platforms, unfortunately, do not reach enough folks to help with this monumental task. We have had organized polls weekly starting in May for the past 4 years. We are starting next Monday afternoon from 1 till 3. We have been working collaboratively with the town, and we want to thank them for providing us with garbage bags and also disposing of all those bags at the landfill. Next slide. This is another picture of a before and after. That was quite a few volunteers over 2 hours, and that was in Beaners Bush as well. Next slide. Recommendations to council. We need help with an awareness campaign. We need assistance to get the word out to the public. We have had limited success in attracting volunteers, and we believe that if more people were aware of our campaign, we would see an increase in the number of volunteers, which would in turn help immensely in fighting this invasive species. One of the ways the town could help us get information out is to post on the town's social media sites. We are also open to other suggestions. We would also like to ask the town to help with printing either a postcard, which is, there's an example of one there, or we have also a pamphlet from the Ontario Invasive Plant Council that we've used other times, and the town has been helpful in helping to print those. As a third recommendation, we would like the town of Saugeen Shores to consider implementing a parks and recreation stewardship program. This program would attach volunteers, perhaps 2 or more per area, to steward a particular park or area within the town. The number of parks and natural areas in our town keeps growing, and volunteers could assist the town with invasive species and excessive litter, helping to keep our natural areas healthy and improve the quality for all to enjoy. We realize that this idea does not apply directly to garlic mustard, but it could be seen as a natural extension to this program. Garlic mustard is manageable, next slide, but only with early coordinated action. By acting now, our municipality can protect the biodiversity, reduce long-term costs, and preserve healthy forests for future generations. That's the end of the presentation. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, Rosa and I would be happy to answer.
Well, thank you, Michelle and Rosa. Are there any comments or questions from members? And I would just encourage you to make sure you speak right in front of the mic. Michelle, you were amazing. That's one of the best receptions we've had. So you're just at the right height. The next speaker needs to adjust the mic because I know you're taller. But Councillor Halpin, then Councillor Davinsky.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you. Thank you for all the work you're doing on this. I've gone out and helped a little bit, not the extent that you guys have. And do you think that people with these pictures, should we encourage people when they see it around their house or in their alleyways and stuff like that, just to pick it? But if the people pick it, how should it be handled from there? Like, let's say someone wants to tackle mustard garlic in their own yard or in the alley behind their house or something like that.
My name is Rosa Pyatt, and the answer to that is, well, we would like to educate the people of Saugeen Shores by telling them the second-year plant, which is the mature plant, the mother plant that produces seeds, must never be composted. It needs to be bagged, solarized for a week or 2, and then thrown in the trash. My hope is, and most people in this room could identify a dandelion, but they couldn't identify garlic mustard. And that's what I hope to get the message out to people in this community. What does it look like and how to dispose of it?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. Yeah, I went out and worked with you guys a little bit, and then I noticed it was all through the alley behind my house and the neighboring alley. And I did pick that out, and I'll be interested to see, I'll keep at that again this year. I think if we all do our part with this, it could make a big difference. Thank you for your work.
Councillor Davinsky?
Thank you, Madam Interim Chairman, and I would like to, through you, say thank you to the group that made a presentation. 2 questions. We have various lawn services in our town. Can they help get rid of it in some shape or form when they come to visit their various clients?
Well, again, they're using chemicals to control the spread of weeds on private residential properties. So that would kill this particular invasive species. Now, are you talking about public land or residential land?
Talking about residential land, obviously with lawn services.
Yes, it would be controlled through the chemicals that they use to spray on the lawns.
Okay, and my second question is, you showed those before and after pictures. After it looked clear, does it stay clear, or do you have to go back the second year and start all over again?
This is a long-term project. Seeds are viable in the soil for at least 5 years. I know it seems monumental, but if we don't start and keep on going, it's going to double every 4 years. So, sorry, what was the question again?
Whether, based on your before and after pictures, your after picture shows it clear,
Right,
pretty well cleared up, but does
right.
it come back to that same spot?
Yes, probably it will for a number of years because we have first-year plants, we have second-year plants that put the seeds down. The seeds lay in the soil. They can be dormant for a year or 2 before they decide to germinate. And so this is a long-term project. It's probably 5 to 10 years in each area if we're diligent. And also, we need to be thinking about planting some native plants in place of where we've taken out our garlic mustard. So it is a very long-term project. That's why we need lots of volunteers and lots of people helping all the time, even in their own yards, because it's too much for just a few people.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Grace?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Excuse me. Thanks, Michelle and Rosa. I've got a question. Have you talked to the schools about doing, when I was a teacher in another place, we used to do this in the spring as sort of a homeroom activity where we basically go out for the whole day and pull garlic mustard. Is that something that you've thought about, or?
Yes, it is something that we've thought of, although we haven't done it as of yet. There are 2 people that have stepped forward that said they would like to go into their children's schools and make presentations. It will probably happen next year, but it's a great idea to educate our young ones. We've also tried to, I think the high school has a program where they have to complete so many volunteer hours, and we have encouraged volunteers from the high school. And you educate as you're picking.
I'd just like to add that one of our polls will be on the May 24th Monday. So if there are any students that catch this, we will be looking for their volunteer time.
Are there any other, Councillor Halpin again?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Can we ask staff if there's ways they could help promote this through social media?
I was just going to bring that up. So there were two requests actually in there. One was for a little bit of help with social media. So I think staff have heard that. And since one of the main areas that, you know, you're focused on is public space alongside the rail trail and in some parks, I think there's an opportunity there that I hope there'll be some success with that. The other request, though, was a little bit bigger to think about. And I'll just suggest that over the years, I've gone to many Parks and Rec conferences where I touched base with and went to presentations about a group called Park People. It's a national organization, and it is volunteers who contribute in different ways to park operations, park programming, park love, park celebration. So, you know, there might be something there that members of the community need to get together and start talking about. But I'd welcome some involvement in that. So take a look at Park People and see if maybe there's something there. But is there anything else from members? Thank you very much, Michelle and Rosa, and we appreciate your coming to council. Our next delegation is from Walter Malcolm, and he's from ERTH Corporation, and he is here to speak with us about the spring 2026 shareholder presentation that was circulated along with our agendas. So again, Mr. Malcolm, if you can just adjust the mic up, it works much better when it's right in front of your mouth. And I would remind you too that we have allocated 10 minutes for this presentation. I'll give you a friendly nudge at about the 9-minute mark. And hopefully we'll stick pretty much close to 10, but I won't cut you off right at the 10-minute mark.
All right. Thank you, Deputy Mayor and members of council, and thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. So my name is actually Chris White. I'm the president and CEO of Earth Corporation. Wally Malcolm is joining me. He's the interim CEO at Westario Power. Earth Corporation is the utility that has been selected to acquire Westario Power, and that process is underway, and a MADS application has been filed with the Ontario Energy Board. And that we expected a response from that sometime early summer. If you can flip to the next slides, just a quick agenda there, and then I'll go into the next slide after that. And this is the Ontario Electric Hockey League tournament that just was held about 3 weeks ago. Members of the Westario Power team joined us in that team, and we won the A Division Championship. So I know we got a winning team, and I'm pretty excited about the group coming together. So thank you for those members that participated in that championship, because it was our first win. Next slide. Earth Corporation, essentially the same organization as Westario Power. We were formed back in 2000 when the market deregulated, first with 7 utilities, then later we had West Perth and Clinton joined us in 2008. Goderich later joined us in 2019. We are 100% municipally owned. We don't have any third-party ownership. So we are owned by the shareholders of the corporation. The next slide depicts that, which is slightly different than Westario Power, given the fact that we have a competitive side of our business as well as the regulated. So the regulated is off to the left. That's Earth Power Corporation. That's the utility that keeps the lights on in the communities. And off to the right is our competitive businesses, which I'll talk about. Across the top is our 9 shareholders, each owning a different equity stake in Earth Corporation, which owns both the regulated and non-regulated business units. Business units. Next slide. Each one of our shareholders has a representation that's selected to our board. It is a skill-based board. Next slide. I am going fast, so sorry for that. But our mission is to be a community partner committed to delivering safe, reliable electricity while providing innovative and high-quality services and solutions to our customer. I wanted to focus on that point because even though you will not be a shareholder, you are certainly a community partner that we will be constantly in discussions with. Next slide. Just a little showing of our refresh of our brand back in 2025. And then we'll skip to the next slide. We are very committed to sustainability. Our fleet electrification project right now, we've got about 18% of our vehicles that are either fully electric or electric hybrid. Next slide. I'll talk a little bit about the regulated utility first in the next few slides. We can skip to the next one then, please. Just as a result of this transaction that's taking place with Earth Corporation Westario, Westario will have a representative that will sit on the Earth Power Board. It'll be selected from your community members, and a committee we struck and worked with Earth Corporation to select that individual. Next slide. This just really depicts Earth Corporation, Earth Power Corporation today, 25,000 customers, 41 employees, 67 square kilometers of service territory, 457 kilometers of distribution line, and 28 fleet vehicles. And we'll skip to the next slide, which depicts our service area. And if you look at that service area, it's eerily similar to Westario, just to the south. 15 communities across 4 counties, and I can tell you that each one of those communities have resemblance to all of your communities. So it's kind of interesting driving through some of these towns. And I do have the benefit of driving through these towns because our family does have a family cottage up on the Bruce, and so I travel through many of your communities each summer. So next slide. We're always focused on customer experience and enhancing that customer experience. We have a competitive business that provides a lot of services to not only our utility, but other utilities across the province, augmenting the customer experience. Next slide. I encourage you to follow us on the social media platforms because you'll gather lots of information on what we're doing, what we're active on. Both when you follow Earth Power or Earth Corporation, our competitive businesses, you can gain information on that as well. Next slide. I've been admiring your facility here. Much like this facility, we're building a brand new facility that we'll be moving into in about 2 or 3 weeks. It's a 57,000 square foot facility. It is a zero carbon building. There is no natural gas to that facility. It has a 2-acre geofield. Behind the facility, it's augmented with solar power on the rooftop. It has a state-of-the-art control room center. It's got, and it's also not EV ready, it's EV enacted. So we've got 14 charging units across the front, out front, for public and staff charging. We've got over 20 EV charging stations inside the fleet and 4 charging behind the fence. So we're very committed to the sustainability function. We do believe in leaving the planet in a much better place than what we started with. So moving on, I'm going to skip over the capitalization. Next slide. Our capital investment strategy. We can skip through the next 2 or 3 slides there, just in the spirit of time. Next slide. Next slide. Very focused on automation. So with our control room, we have real-time. So this slide here, real-time monitoring on the grid. We will be deploying more and more of these devices across your community over time. We recently received SHREP funding for $1 million, which will see double the output of these devices in the field. And that's basically providing automation out on the grid that can actually self-heal the grid during power outages. Next slide. That's our AVL system, GPS system. It's a system that we monitor our fleet activity, making sure that our employees are safe. We'll flip to the next slide. I'll talk about our competitive businesses quickly. On the competitive side, I talked about the employees that we have on the utility proper, 41 today, soon to be close to 90 with the addition of Westario and the addition of Tillsonburg Hydro. On the non-reg side, we have over 90 employees that started out with 0 employees, 0 revenue. We're now up to 90 employees, $25 million of revenue, and our net income has doubled as a result of the activity that the success that we've had on the competitive services. Next slide. Our infrastructure group, you can flip to the next slide again. It's the blue collar group. We do street light, traffic light, pole line construction, high voltage, EV infrastructure, electrical contracting, subdivision installations, meter calibration. We are the largest meter shop in the province of Ontario, calibrating over 60% of the meters that you see on your residential homes and businesses across the provinces. So we do that activity for a number of utilities in the province of Ontario. Next slide. That's just a little snapshot. The picture on the left is Hanover traffic intersection that we did probably 5 or 6 years ago. So we've done a lot of work in some of your communities already. In fact, I believe we've converted a number of the street lights to LEDs across a number of communities in the province, including some of yours. Next slide. That's a little snapshot of our metering services. Again, the largest meter calibration shop in Ontario. Flip to the next slide. Talk about our solutions and technology group at a very high level. Next slide. So we are the North Star experts in Ontario. It's a CIS billing platform. So we provide those services for other utilities, municipalities. We do water billing. We do electric billing for other utilities. Today we handle about 1.5 million transactions a month. So we bill for approximately 350,000 customers. So our utility proper is only 25,000 today. The others are other LDCs, utilities, and other municipalities, water billing. We have a bill print shop. So yes, people still get hard copy bills. We do over 500,000 bills a month. And then our Quadra product line, I'll talk about it because it's gained a lot of traction globally. We've got customers across the globe, and there's a representation of the slide going forward. So flip to the next slide, please. Again, solutions technology, we had acknowledgement by the former energy minister back with our green button solution. Engage is a web portal that a number of utilities are now using, as well as municipalities for their water billing. Happy to talk to you if you'd like to look at that product, but we'll flip to the next slide. Just to represent the customers that we have, we do business with almost every utility in the province of Ontario. Through our Quadra product line, where you can see us dotted down in the US, we're in New Zealand, we're down in the Caribbean as well. And we're very excited with the success that we've had as a result of that business line. Next slide.
You have about 1 minute left.
Okay. Climate action, again, we have a number of solar installations, EV charging infrastructure, and we were acknowledged as Canada's top Clean 50 award back a few years ago. And I'll close on the last slide here. One more slide. Go to the next slide. This slide here is a representation of the communities that we'll be serving going forward. So 31 communities, 7 counties, and we're very committed to being a partner with your community as we go forward on this venture. And as of tonight, Tillsonburg Hydro is now signing off on their share purchase agreement, and we're very pleased to add them to our family as well. So we're here for the long haul. We're here to work with you. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to leave my card behind for those that may want to reach out to me. I'll leave them here at the podium. And if there's any questions, I take questions right now.
Thank you very much. And I apologize for the mistake with your name. I had a
That's all
different
right.
name
No
on the
problem.
sheet in front of me.
No
Are there
problem.
any questions or comments from members, Councillor Mayette and Councillor Stack?
Thank you for the presentation. That's really informative. I went through your slides, but now that you explain it, it's really impressive.
Thank you.
The communities that you're in across the country, across the world, apparently. I see you mentioned that you're in the solar panel business and wind business too. Is that right?
Not so much the wind. We do metering services for some of the wind proponents. So we actually just manage their metering points with and manage that with the IESO and settle for them. In terms of solar panels, yes, we have procured and engineered and installed, and we own and maintain a number of solar installations on our community arena rooftops under the RESOP programs.
Okay, that's a good earth-friendly way to go about things. Are you, I guess with your meter reading services, you do time of day metering? Does
Time of use metering. We do that for our local residents. We offer that absolutely, and tiered pricing for sure. It's the customer choice through our web portal. They've got access to information that they can make informed decisions. We're actually going live with that portal as we speak. So customers will get access to more real-time information, be able to make choices between time of use, tiered pricing, and so forth.
Okay, so each new customer, when we get signed up, I'm currently not a Westario customer. I live on a rural property, so we're Hydro One, but the Westario Power is soon to be Earth Power customers will be able to log on and look at their power consumption on a live basis. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, that's pretty exciting too. One last question. Have you broached the area of energy storage yet?
Energy storage, no.
No.
I mean, we've done, again, metering work for the proponents that are installing that, but we have not actually actively engaged in installing or any sort of installations of energy storage at this point in time.
At this point in time, yeah. But the number of things that you're involved in, it sounds like it's only a matter of time. Thanks very much for the presentation.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Counselor Stack?
Yeah, thank you. I just had a question, I think on your slide 20, the risk matrix, and perhaps I missed it. Just the numbers that are noted on your risk matrix, are those like relevant? Are those the number of risks in that quadrant?
Oh, that's a risk tool that we use when we're selecting our capital program.
Okay, so it's not a.
So we've got a 10-year portfolio of capital projects. When we run it through our tool called the Optimizer, we're able to identify the high-risk projects, and those are the projects that make our capital program each year. So in the top red quadrants are the higher risk projects. So that's what we focus our attention on investing in.
Oh, so you actually go to the high, and the color coding in the matrix isn't tied to the color coding in the.
Red is the highest, and as you move out, it's lower risk.
Sorry, I'm just asking because in your optimizer, like red is environmental. Just
No,
not related.
no, not related, no.
And then thank you. Then my other question was just about your budget, your project portfolio. So you noted that there are 11 projects being deferred.
Yep.
Is there any risk to service for any of your customers?
No, when you look at the risk of a number of these projects, they all have a lot of similar characteristics. What we do is try and optimize the ones that have the highest risks and the highest value return, and try and focus on those. But there's only so many capital dollars, as you can appreciate, to spend each year.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Davinsky?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Couple of questions. Will an office be opening in this region, or will you maintain the office and the area in Walkerton?
As of right now, the plan is to maintain the location in Walkerton. But I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what the future looks like, but I have noted, because I've driven through your community, a lot of growth activity. And I'm sure the demographics are going to change over the next decade or two. And obviously at that point in time, we will be revisiting that. We want to make sure that we service the communities effectively. And, you know, as things get bigger or larger, there may be a need to add another service center or what have you.
Okay, thank you for that. Many Westario customers are on, have their bills paid automatically. Now, when Earth takes over, will the changeover be seamless, or will customers have to sign up again?
It'll be, we hope it will be seamless. Now, when you, it's a two-step approach that we're taking. So Westario is going to sit as a standalone for 2 years, and then we're merging the 3 utilities together in 2029. When they go to change over at that point in time, there will be a process through the web portal, and they will have to jump in and change their password. But it will be notified to the customer and clearly communicated at that time.
But that, as you say, is 2029.
Yes.
Okay, final question. What's the chances of Earth giving Saugeen Shores 2, 3 free EV chargers, and we give you the locations and you put them in as a matter of good faith and welcome to the community?
Let's talk. Happy to have a conversation.
Counselor Mayette?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. One thing, just after your presentation, don't rush off. You should hear the group behind you there to your right.
Okay.
The Sparks Training Center. I think their presentation you'll find interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, absolutely. Curious to always learn what's going on there.
Counselor Halpin?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you. So you guys do solar installations on facilities? Because I know a facility that is really looking for a solar installation, the one we're in here now. So I will be picking up one of your business cards.
There we go. That's fine. Yeah, the current arrangement with some of our shareholders is we've leased the rooftop of their arenas, and we installed approximately 250 kilowatts of solar power on the roof under the former RESOP programs. So where we were getting 13 cents a kilowatt an hour. Right now, those programs don't exist. So the only options are around net metering. So the economics probably don't exist for us as well today, but things are always changing and we're looking at new opportunities.
Vice Deputy Mayor. Mike.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your presentation. And I just saw in your slides when I was going through them as well, lots of giving back contributions. And I think Councillor Dubinsky and Helpman were quite serious, about having that. And you said you'd be very willing to have those chats. But I see lots of checks. And so it seems to me that you're very community minded and you actually do contribute in substantial amounts to community projects. Is that a fair statement?
I wouldn't say community projects per se, but community service groups, charities, sponsorships and gifts in kinds. Absolutely.
Good for you.
Yeah. Last year we contributed over 200,000 to our shareholder
I was going to
communities.
ask for the budget number. So it's over 200,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we look at, when we look at EV installations, you give me the parking space, give me a lease, they'll put the EV charger in for
There
you.
you go. I was piggybacking on.
There we go.
John's said. There you go, John.
We'll talk.
These guys go. You're to be commended for being community minded. I think that's, and you know the benefits of that too, but that's, you're to be commended for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a small town boy that's grown up in small town communities. Taking a tour around here, I've traveled up the Highway 10 corridor, mostly going through Hanover and that, but been through these communities in the past. They're very, very beautiful communities, and you should be proud of them.
Anyone else? Well, I just wanted to ask you, I am a Westario customer, and I know you mentioned about 2 years Westario will still be there. Will Earth be sending any, I haven't noticed anything in a billing statement yet that talks about, even though it's 2 years down the road, that talks about what's going on. Will that be coming out to every customer, either in their paper bill or with a direct link off an email notice or something that the people who don't get paper will hear about something?
Absolutely. So right now, the deal is not closed. Okay, it's before the Ontario Energy Board under what they call a MADS application. They have to validate the application meets the no harm test to the customers. I suspect that will, should be a rubber stamp for the most part, but nonetheless, it is a process. It takes 4 to 6 months. And then there's the closing transaction that takes 30 days after close. After that time frame, absolutely, we'll be sending out notification that we're the new utility. Westario customers, we've got a little bit of a transition plan. We'll likely be transitioning to the new brand sooner than later. But because we have to operate with their license for a period of time, on the bill, you'll likely see both the Earth Power logo as well as the Westario Power logo, and we'll be explaining that. We are protecting the interests of your customers by not going through a cost of service rate application, which we are slated to go through next year for our 2028 rates. And we'll see our new billing form part of our new rate structure. And part of our proposal was to ensure that your customers weren't impacted by that investment. And so that's why we're doing this two-step approach. Otherwise, we'd merge all three together on day one. And the other reason is we just come off an 8-year deferral period because we merged with Goderich Hydro back in 2018. And so we are obligated to come back into the Ontario Energy Board for our rate application.
Thank you very much. And we appreciate you coming tonight to tell us all this good news.
Thank you. And we're excited to be working with you in the future. Thank you for that.
Well, we have one more delegation on the list, and that is from the Saugeen Sparks Training Center. So I'll invite Rob Stanley up to the mic. And again, oh, is Rob not speaking? Oh, okay. Thought maybe there was a different, if you could make sure the mic is situated properly. And Rob, I'll remind you that you have 10 minutes. I'll try and give you a 9-minute warning as well.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, and thank you for the card, Chris. I'm sure we'll be talking. Good evening, Madam Deputy Mayor Huber, members of council and staff, and to the guests in attendance. On behalf of Saugeen Sparks Training Center's Board of Directors, I'd like to express our sincere appreciation for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I'd also like to acknowledge that there are 8 of the 15 members of our board here tonight, including Councillors Halpin and Mayette. The board's commitment and leadership have been instrumental in guiding the center's growth. And when the center became operational 2.5 years ago, the town of Saugeen Shores provided critical early support by covering our office space for the first 2 years. That support gave us the stability we needed to focus on building strong and effective skills training programs that could genuinely change lives. Today, the results of your and our commitment to skilled trades training are evident. Students from across the region are gaining skills, securing meaningful employment, and building confidence and independence. The momentum continues to grow, and the impact is being felt not only by the individuals we serve, but across the broader community. The video you're about to see offers a clear picture of that progress, who we are, the work that's underway, and the difference it is making in people's lives. It reflects the impact of your early leadership and the momentum you helped set in motion. I'd like now to share our short video with you.
In the heart of Bruce County, a spark is igniting transformation. One student, one skill, one future at a time. Welcome to the Saugeen Sparks Training Center, a catalyst for opportunity, a cornerstone of change. Launched in late fall of 2023 at GC Houston Public School in Southampton, the center began with Support Ontario Youth's tools in the Trades Boot Camp. The day opened and closed with traditional Indigenous ceremonies, bringing together the Provincial Building and Construction Trades Council of Ontario, several of its labor union affiliates, regional employers, and community leaders, all united in their call to students. Consider a future in the skilled trades. The day was a resounding success, and from that powerful beginning, the center has grown into a place where training meets opportunity and where our mission comes to life every day. Saugeen Sparks Training Center offers free, hands-on training in welding and electrical at Saugeen District Senior School in Port Elgin. We believe geography or income should never limit access to the skilled trades. Our mission is to create meaningful employment opportunities, strengthen pathways to careers, and provide hope for youth across the region. We are building a local workforce to meet the growing demand for skilled trades, not only in major infrastructure projects, but also in the everyday needs of regional employers across the construction, manufacturing, and energy sectors. By closing the gap between education and employment, Saugeen Sparks is transforming futures, strengthening communities, and changing lives. Guided by a 15-member board of directors, including women and Indigenous leaders, our center reflects the diversity we serve. The board's leadership ensures our mission is inclusive, strategic, and rooted in community values. Together, they provide the vision that drives Saugeen Sparks Training Center forward. Our night classes are thriving, attracting youth, women, newcomers, and Indigenous students. Each student is chosen for their aptitude and employability, ensuring training leads directly to real-world success. In its first 2 years, Saugeen Sparks worked alongside the Canadian Welding Bureau, Support Ontario Youth, and the Provincial Building and Construction Trades Council of Ontario, contributing skills training to a total of 22 programs. Nearly all participants were youth aged 17 to 29, with 7 in 10 male, 3 in 10 female, and almost 3 in 10 identifying as Indigenous or newcomers to Canada. These numbers are more than statistics. They represent the inclusion of groups typically underrepresented in the skilled trades, opportunities being created, and a workforce that reflects the diversity of our region. During the summers of 2024 and 2025, our specialized 4-week welding programs at the Nuclear Innovation Institute's Advanced Technology Campus in Tiverton welcomed 54 students from across the region. Trained by our instructors, these 54 students, upon completing the programs, were tested by the Canadian Welding Bureau in CSA W47.1 fillet welding using the shielded metal arc welding process. Together, they achieved something extraordinary, 137 welding certificates with a flawless 100% pass rate. These cohorts embody skill, determination, and the future of our region. Their success is shared by employers and partners, the Provincial Building and Construction Trades Council of Ontario, and the Canadian Welding Bureau, who helped make it possible. Most graduates have already moved into skilled trades employment, building careers and strengthening the region's workforce. From students to employers to provincial partners, the impact is clear. Lives changed, careers launched, communities strengthened.
After graduating from Saugeen District Secondary School, I completed both the Fall 2024 and Spring 2025 Electrical Night School classes through Sparks Training Center. I also took their Summer Specialized Welding program in 2024, where I earned 4 welding tickets in 5 weeks. Thanks to Sparks Training Center, I now have a rewarding apprenticeship with Weber Electric in Walkerton.
The specialized welding program offered through Saugeen Sparks Training Center changed everything for me. I learned to weld at Owen Sound District Secondary School and later trained with Saugeen Sparks Center. In the summer of 2024, I took their specialized welding program and earned 5 CWB tickets in 5 weeks. I have currently just started my second year as a UA 527 welding apprentice. I wouldn't have had this opportunity if it wasn't for Saugeen Sparks Training Center.
My name is Ravinder Singh. I always dream of being an electrician, and since coming to Canada, I am now fulfilling that dream. I took Sparks Center Electrical Night School program in the fall of 2024 and spring of 2025. I am proud to say I am now electrician apprentice with Habitat for Humanity Grey Bruce.
In winter of 2024, I enrolled in Saugeen Sparks Training Center Night School Welding Program. I commuted weekly from Sarnia to the center, a distance of 420 kilometers round trip to complete the night school program. That Sparks program helped me discover my passion for a career in the welding trade and open up doors I didn't think were possible. I appreciate the level of instruction and guidance I received from Sparks welding instructors, and I'm proud to say that my hard work has paid off, as I'm now an apprentice with the Boilermakers Local 128.
I've seen firsthand the quality of instruction and the dedication of Saugeen Sparks Training Center students in both the welding and electrical programs. Upon completing the center's programs, grads are job ready and eager to learn more. They make great candidates for work placements. Several labor unions have hired apprentices trained by the center. Most of these apprentices begin their careers with supplier companies completing infrastructure projects on our site. Full credit goes to the Sparks Training Organization and the instructors for building real-life skills, real trade skills applied in daily work activities for our work programs.
In a very short period of time since inception, Saugeen Sparks Training Center has become a force in terms of workforce development and expanding access to skilled trades training in the region. We are proud to work alongside them and their partners and look forward to further collaboration on the delivery of skilled trades training programs that lead to employment opportunities in Grey, Bruce, and Huron counties.
Together with programming partners like the Nuclear Innovation Institute, Canadian Welding Bureau, Support Ontario Youth, and the Provincial Building and Construction Trades Council of Ontario, we're building inclusive, high-quality training that lasts. We are committed to building and sustaining partnerships through signed training agreements with Saugeen First Nation, Nawash Unceded First Nation, the Huronia Area Aboriginal Management Board, and Habitat for Humanity Grey Bruce. These partnerships reflect our shared commitment to community-led growth and expanding opportunities across Grey, Bruce, and Huron counties. We are proud to acknowledge the dedicated and ongoing support of Bruce Power and EPSCA. Their contributions strengthen our training initiatives and guide our mission, reflecting the same commitment to community-led growth we share with our community partners. We proudly align with Ontario's strategic goals, expanding access, removing financial barriers, and increasing participation among women, Indigenous peoples, and newcomers. As local talent thrives, so does Ontario. We're preparing apprentices for the province's most ambitious infrastructure and energy projects, from Bruce Power to housing developments across the region. Our impact goes beyond big builds. It's building stronger communities, training people for hands-on careers in carpentry, electrical, and general contracting. For many in rural Ontario, access to training can be a challenge. Our outreach strategy will bring welding, electrical, and carpentry skills directly to regional schools and communities, ensuring no one is left behind. Saugeen Sparks Training Centre is more than a place to learn. It's a launchpad for Ontario's skilled trades future. In every weld, every beam, every certificate earned, you see the strength of our communities. Together, we're building the Ontario of tomorrow.
You have about 1 minute left.
So if I may add one brief update, beyond what was shown in the video, the centre has now provided over 550 training opportunities across the region. That includes new welding training for labour unions, as well as specialised training for 4 students who are currently being trained to compete in the provincial high school skills Ontario competition in welding and electrical in early May. We're seeing a strong momentum and we're very encouraged by the direction things are heading. Thank you very much for your continued support. Thank you.
When are the championships?
You know the actual date.
Championships are May 4th and May 5th, and the students are from Sacred Heart in Walkerton, Owen Sound District, and John Diefenbaker in Hanover.
Well, thank you for the brief presentation, and the video is great. It's nice to see Councillor Halpin is staying busy in his retirement. His image was in there a bit. Are there any comments, questions from members? Councillor Grace first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Rob and Kenny, for the presentation and really inspiring video. I just wanted to say that our CFUW Southport Scholarship Committee started last year with a Women in Trade scholarship. Actually, several of them. We gave out $3,000 scholarships for women in trades in high school or mature women. And we were privileged to be able to tour the Sparks Training Center, and it was really an impressive experience. Thank you for everything you do. It's just remarkable what you've achieved and what you're continuing to achieve. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. And Councillor Grace, I wrote down remarkable in my notes here tonight because the past 2.5 years has been nothing short of truly being remarkable. What you accomplished, Rob and Kenny and 16 board members, I just want to say thank you. On behalf of the community, really, and council, and like all of the people have gone through your training sessions, it's just a huge success story, and I think there's a lot of great things to happen over the next few years, and just hats off to you. And I'm just wondering if you could share with me in the council community over the last 2.5 years, how many apprentices, how many people that have been successful with their training, has it turned into full-time employment? You're probably tracking that. How many have been placed into full-time jobs?
Yeah, and most of them have come in the last 11 months.
Can you speak right into the mic, Rob?
I'm sorry. Most that we've been tracking have come in the last 11 months because it takes a while before they actually complete a program, before we can get them into a pathway for employment. But there's 42 that have received full-time job offers. Not all are apprentices at Bruce Power. Some are with municipal employers as well. And we have a number in the pipeline awaiting security clearances to get into Bruce Power.
That's just tremendous. And do you have at your fingertips, I think, Kenny, you might have mentioned, did I hear 500 or 600? I can't remember the number, but how many students, how many people have been enrolled in your programs in the last 2.5 years total? Do you have an approximate number?
Right now, I think we're about 550. This past night school program that started last Wednesday, we had 106 applicants in 72 hours. So we've had to put on a second night of welding. So now we've got 2 nights of welding and a night of electrical. And these fellas just completed teaching another labor union welding skills, 10 students, and they end up with 38 more certificates last Wednesday. and we did a class of women, 19 women, and we've got some fabulous women. Last Friday, we were surprised. We're going to have some good women tradespeople coming soon.
Well, that's just wonderful. I just want to say council help, and I know I contacted Bud there last Wednesday to attend a meeting at 5 o'clock, and don't ask Bud to go out on a Wednesday night to an appointment to attend a meeting because he'd be up at the high school volunteering his heart away. And but thanks for all the great work you do too. You spent a lot of hours with that program, and again, thank you to all the board members. Appreciate all your great work.
And now we've got 12 instructors. We've got 6 electrical and 6 welding. Bud runs a real good ship in electrical. Thank you, Bud.
Are there any other comments, questions? Councillor Davinsky?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. And really, it's a memory more than anything. I talked to Rob about this prior to the meeting, watching this terrific video and what you've done and what the students have accomplished. I all of a sudden got this spark memory, if you will, of me being in electrical, doing electrical work. I don't know why it happened. I don't know why in high school I was good at it and it made sense to me about current runs and everything else. And this brought it all back, and that was kind of fun. You don't want me to do it now, and you certainly don't want me to be a teacher, that's for sure. But thank you for that memory. Thanks for the work you're doing in this community. Thanks.
Council, thank you very much for your support over the last 2 years. We sincerely appreciate it. Couldn't have done it without you. Thank you.
Well, and mention was made of Councillor Halpin's volunteer activity. All the board members should be congratulated for your activity, but also I know the 2 guys standing at the podium back there, you're retired too. So it's good you've stayed busy too. And I think you're, not just sparking memories, but you're sparking whole careers in the community. So thank you very much. And I'm sure we'll see you again in the future because you always have good news to bring. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, we have adjusted the agenda, so we've moved 12.6 to this place on the agenda. So I believe that report is being presented by Matt Prentice, who is oh, so it's just, apparently there is no presentation, so it's just open for council discussion then. So, is Mike coming back? Okay, well, I'm open to starting the conversation. Councillor Mayette?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Just one moment. We'll let the director introduce the topic then. It's on a consent agenda, so that normally doesn't happen, but the director of operations, did I get that title correct? Yeah, Director of Operations. Matt, can you just briefly introduce the item? Thank you.
I will seek to achieve brevity and thank you for the introduction, Deputy Mayor Huber. The petition to council requested 30% tax relief as compensation for non-receipt of some municipal services. And the petition identified the reason for the non-receipt of various municipal services due to the status of Eagle Court as a private road. The report discussed pre-amalgamation practices to provide clarity around those, and it has been mentioned that there are 23 similar condominium locations in town, and only 2 of those locations still or currently receive curbside garbage pickup on a private road, Saugeen Acres in Port Elgin and Nantucket Village in Southampton. Garbage collection is the only service still provided by the town on those condominium private roads since recycling is out of our hands. And it's important to note that this practice predates amalgamation in both locations. Other pre-amalgamation practices that have been noted with Hillcrest Drive being provided as an example include other locations where there are private roads where winter control and or garbage pickup is provided. However, of those 9 locations, 4 receive curbside garbage pickup and 3 receive winter control. And those arrangements also predate amalgamation, in some cases by decades, and were carried forward as existing practices by the town. Since amalgamation, the town has consistently followed a policy of not extending services onto private roads, but has continued the arrangements made prior to amalgamation by the predecessor municipalities. The petition requests municipal property tax relief in the amount of 30%. In response to that, staff offer that provincial laws require all residential properties, including condominiums, to be taxed at the same rate. This means that municipalities cannot offer special tax rates or provide tax relief based upon which municipal services are received. The town is legally obligated to apply those uniform tax rates and cannot make exceptions for condominiums or adjust rates according to the level of services provided. The report describes or provides a discussion of private roads and service levels. The internal private right-of-way, we discussed that it is only 23 feet wide. Municipal right-of-ways are typically 66 feet. The asphalt roadway is only 20 feet wide. The town's standard roadway width is 28 feet. Narrow roads have various issues, less capacity for snow storage. This drives the need to haul snow from the road, like the town does in the downtown areas. And I can speak to past experience at another municipality where Public Works, for reasons unknown, extended winter control services to one narrow private road. This required frequent snow haulage, and that greatly increased the annual cost. Of course, it depends what Mother Nature deals with us, but
in the live stream, so we'll break for 5 minutes and hopefully that'll bring it back up. But thank you, Matt. Oh, look at that. It was 5 seconds. We'll just give it a minute to make sure everything's okay. Is it all good?
Yep.
All good?
Good to keep going.
Well, geez, the mayor doesn't get it back that fast. So thank you very much, Matt, for the presentation. It is a consent agenda item, so that was an unexpected request, but I appreciate you stepping up. So I think Councillor Mayette was first.
Thank you, Ms. Deputy Mayor. Thanks, Matt, for the report. I have gone through it, and it is very comprehensive, and that's what we asked you to do. I do have a couple questions, and I know your operations, but my first question would be more directed towards the building department. So when a subdivision is proposed, the developer comes to the town and they submit their plans for their development, and in those plans they detail the roads they're going to be building and the services they're going to be putting underground, so that at a future date there's an assumption takes place and the town takes over those roads. So I'm having a hard time understanding how this one got approved when the road right next to it was built to a different standard and got assumed, and the town owns it, when they're essentially the same development. One's a phase 1 and one's a phase 2, but they're essentially the same. So, and I know probably the people that were approving those things when West Links was being proposed maybe aren't with the town anymore. Can somebody explain to me why this road was built to a different standard than we apply to all the other roads in town?
We'll get the CAO to respond to that.
Thank you for the question. I'm not sure we're going to be able to answer tonight because we didn't have it ahead of time about what the difference is between the phases. But I just will clarify that this is not a plan of subdivision. This was approved as a plan of condominium. And when we talked about the petition earlier this year, we explained that plans of condominiums are a way that a developer incorporates parts of their development in order to receive a higher density of development, right? So the roads are smaller, they can get the more townhouses units in, that sort of thing. So it isn't a plan of subdivision. It is actually brought forward as a plan of condominium, which has different standards because we know the town won't be maintaining those facilities.
Okay, I understand that, but literally across the street is the same type of development, but it's a plan of subdivision because the roads were built and the roads were assumed, but it's under a condominium corporation management.
Through you, Madam Chair. I don't know that I can confirm that, Councillor Mayette. I don't know that we can say with confidence that it's a plan of subdivision beside it unless my colleagues can hear, but I don't think any of us were prepared to answer that. We just focused on Eagle Court in particular tonight.
All right, whether it was a subdivision or a condominium, that the fact remains that the neighbors across the road who live in condominiums that look exactly like the ones on Eagle Court, in fact, they're next door neighbors, do get the services. They get street cleaning, they get snow removal, they get waste and recycling pickup. So this is essentially the gist of the problem. And I'm somewhat sympathetic to my neighbors in West Links, that it's pretty frustrating to look out your window on a Monday morning or Tuesday morning on garbage day and watch the garbage truck going down the street and picking up your neighbor's garbage, but not yours. I mean, anybody would feel that way. And it was pointed out by the speaker earlier that this is in fact unique to the West Links development. There's a number of them, and there's a couple of maps in the presentation here that clearly show where there are condominium developments, and granted, some of them are in a grandfathered situation where they've received services and continue to receive services even though they're a condominium, but none of them that I'm aware of have some of the people getting services and other people not getting services. So this creates a weekly rub for the people here, and they're neighbors, so they get together and they talk and they compare their tax bill, and it's exactly the same. You're paying the same money, but getting less service. So that, it's just the unfairness of that. The legalities of it are well explained in here. And there's, you pointed out liability issues if the trucks are driving down private roads. Well, we have garbage trucks driving down private roads in many different cases around Saugeen shores. There are roads that are not up to standard that get the roads plowed. There are roads that are not municipal standard to get garbage collection. It happens. So to say that it can't be done, I drove down Eagle Court today, and certainly it's a narrower road, but there's enough room for trucks to turn around. In fact, they have a big garbage bin there that gets, so there's a large truck gets in there and picks up their garbage bin and hauls it away at the expense of the condo corporation. So to that end, I have prepared a notice of motion that I want to present for consideration at a future council meeting that that we extend these services to regain the equity that these people deserve. These people are paying services. Anybody that knows me around here knows I'm sensitive to rural residents. I live in a rural residence, and a lot of the people that are in my ward don't have access to sewer and water. So whenever we get to a situation where the council proposes or staff proposes that we spend any municipal tax dollars on water and sewer infrastructure, I'm the first one to stand up and say, no, those services are not, I don't get those services. So myself and my neighbors who live in the rural sections of the ward should not have to pay for those services. And that's a basic rule in our society, is if you're not getting the services, you shouldn't have to pay for those services. So these people's tax dollars are going towards paying for garbage trucks, paying for Bazwar contract, paying for the landfill site, paying for recycling, but not getting the benefit of it. So that's just fundamentally wrong. So I have a notice of motion, which I'll present to the clerk here shortly. And I'm moving it, and Councillor Duhaime, my fellow Saugeen Ward councillor, has offered to second that. So we'll be bringing that forward to as a notice of motion at the next regular council meeting and for consideration going forward. But I think in this case, we need to do something. And I understand that Bazwar has an opinion on this, and the town staff have an opinion on this. And I don't expect, and if it's done without precedent or prejudice, which is the way I've worded the motion, it doesn't mean that it automatically extends to all the other condominium complexes. Those other condominium complexes, presumably when they moved in, this was all explained to them, which is, and one of the recommendations, and it's a good recommendation, but unfortunately that doesn't seem to have been the case. The residents on Eagle Court have thoroughly scoured their condominium, buying the papers they got when they bought their houses, and nowhere in there does it say you will not be getting municipal services. This came as a complete surprise to them, whereas their neighbors right across the street, who they golf with and associate with, do get it. It's fundamentally wrong. And maybe for the next phase, because presumably there's a phase 3, if that is, adequately explained to them going in with open eyes, that's a different story. But that was not the case here, and these people were taken by surprise. So I have the motion here, and I'll give it to you before we finish the night. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other comments from members? Councillor Grace?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I have a couple of questions. And I know that you're probably may not be prepared to answer these today, but I'm just wondering about Fairway Lane, which is the adjacent lane which receives these services. Does it meet the municipal road standards in terms of width, infrastructure, utilities, that kind of thing?
Would the director like to comment? Thank you.
Yes, it does meet the standards. It is in fact a municipal road. And it is one of the places where there are condominium homes on a municipal road. those particular condominium homes do then receive the curbside services that they're talking about.
Thank you. Another question, and once again, I am sure you're probably not prepared to answer this, but the two grandfathered examples that you gave, the Saugeen Acres and Nantucket, those receive only garbage pickup, curbside garbage pickup. I believe those are the municipal services that are provided to them,
Yes, that is correct.
not winter control.
Not winter control, no.
What I'd like to know is how much would the cost be? Because I think your report said to extend curbside garbage pickup and winter control services on Eagle Court would approximately be $40,000 a year. I'm wondering what it would be if it's just for the garbage pickup only, seeing that the service is already on a neighboring street, even though that neighboring street meets municipal standards. If you're not ready, that's fine, but in the future, when this comes back, I'd like to know the answer to that if possible. And then my last question is about, and this I did send you today, and I know you're not fully, don't have the full answer for this, but in your report, you talked about the fact that there was an example of a condo, Waterloo Place, that did receive, was grandfathered pre-amalgamation. It did receive, I believe, just the garbage pickup. But that curbside pickup ended in 2021, and I wondered why that situation is different from the two locations that still have their grandfathering agreements.
I'm unaware of any technical differences, and I don't know the decision process that led to that one being cut off at that time and not the other two. It wasn't subject of a staff report or staff report to council. It was decided more or less internally at that time.
Okay, well, I guess it just leads me to questions of why are we still continuing with pre-amalgamation arrangements when one that had a pre-amalgamation arrangement was ended? Again, it's kind of an equity question. I know it wasn't your decision, Matt, but it's a question for me in this issue. Thank you.
Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you. This question is for the Director, Matt Prentice, if I could. When I look at Joseph Street in Port Elgin here, isn't it kind of the same that in Joseph Street on the private roads, they don't have pickup, but the part of Joseph Street that is on a Bruce Street, or I'm sorry, Sandy Acre, regardless, on a street that is built to the standards, they get theirs picked up. So is that not just the very same as what's happening with Eagle and Fairway?
The short answer is fundamentally yes. Joseph Street is a public road. It is fronted by condominium homes, which as a consequence of fronting a public road, receive curbside pickup. The internal road network at that condominium, the name of it escapes me, but those are not provided any service because they are private roads internal to the development.
Thank you. And the other point that I'd like to make is that I previously owned a condominium in Port Elgin, and it was under the same, it was on a private road and it had all the private services. And for the way our condominium board ran, it did not pose a problem, or it didn't pose a hardship. It just seemed to work fine. I have another comment I'd like to make too, though, is that it's kind of almost being presented like we're not allowing this. It was developed this way. It was developed with a municipal standard street, and then the developer chose to develop it with a private road. And people bought on that private road. And if you're disappointed with how that came out, I'm not sure that it's our obligation to fix that problem. You should be talking to your real estate agents, your condo board, the developer. They're the ones that kind of created that situation. I just want to say that if we say, okay, we feel sorry for you guys, which I do. I'm sorry you're going through this. We're just going to cover yours now. There's 20 condos on there. We'll have 20 people knocking on our doors. We'll have 20 other people knocking on our doors to do that at a time when we're trying to reduce our cost of about $500,000 a year. I'm still thinking of the last budget. I'm thinking of this next budget. So I am sorry for the problems for the people on Eagle Court, but I don't see how it's really fundamentally different than on Joseph Street, or it's fundamentally different on the condo that I owned here, or a condo that we previously owned in Kincardine that was the same way. Those are condominium rules, or the condominium that my daughter lives in Ottawa. It's the same thing. You bought a condominium, those are the rules of it. I may have another comment, but I'll stop there.
Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt, then
thank you.
Councillor Stack.
Yep, thank you, Deputy Mayor. And, you know, I've been on this council for 12 years, and I've seen developments approved, condominium corporations, and know Rod Reich really well, most of the developers very well. And condominium corporations, you know, the intentions are really good when they're being developed. They want smaller lots. They want to put higher density in to create room for more houses. And part of the agreement with the condominium corporation agreement is just no garbage pickup and there's no waste recycling. And you know, that's what was agreed to when these agreements were signed and approved by this council and former councils. And I spoke to Vince, who's the manager, I'm the president of the board for Basra, and you know, a bare minimum, if he's to send a Basra truck down that road, and of course, waste management organizations, provincial responsibility now, so that's even a bigger problem, getting waste recycling picked up, is that there definitely has to be a legal agreement for an indemnification agreement where protect Basra and the municipality from legal liability from driving down a, quote, private road. These are private roads. And there's a comment I made earlier, well, the truck just drives right by those houses along Fairway Lane, and why can't they just nip in and do this? Well, people drive right by Bruce Street past condominium corporations and Wellington Street and Waterloo Street. Trucks drive by those locations and aren't picking up from those locations because of condominium corporations. So I think we need to get it right as a council then. Rip the Band-Aid off. Send it back to staff. January, make it a budget item. We want to spend an extra 300, 400, 500 grand. Let's take a look at all the locations then. And the condominium corporation agreements that we had established over the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, let's rip the Band-Aid off. How can you do it for one? How can we do it for one block? I took a drive there tonight too. I'm a member of the golf course. I took a drive through Eagle Court and Fairway Lane again tonight, looked at the width of the roads. 14 residents want to have their block serviced. I saw 14 others being built. Some are completed, some are being sold, some are sold. And the next phase is going to be phase 3. What about those? If we do that block, we need to do the other 2 blocks. That's my feeling. Yeah, but if we're going to do those 3 blocks, then let's rip the Band-Aid off and provide service for all other 18 of them. Why don't we just provide them all service? And at budget time, spend that extra 2-3% tax increase and raise the taxes, right? And provide garbage pickup and blue box. I'm not sure that's the right decision to make, but I'm willing to listen to staff report, a business plan that indicates where there's curbside pickup now, where there isn't. While the trucks are driving by, can we go in and pick it up, or can we pick it up at the curbside at the intersection, for example? Could the garbage be taken out of Eagle Court and taken out to the intersection of Fairway Lane, picked up at the one stop, like they do down at Eights Grove? That's what happens at Eights Grove. It's the old agreement. Just picked up at one pickup spot. Trucks probably couldn't get through Eights Grove anyway, so I wouldn't think. But this isn't, you know, I expect if this is approved, where we do the one block, you're going to hear from those other 12, 13 condominiums. I'm very convinced of that. You're going to hear, why would you not hear from them? If you're picking up garbage down one block, which is a private road, let's go in on all 13 roads, pick it up then. It's only fair to our constituents, to our taxpayers. But I guess the question I have to have clarified through our CAO, it really confuses me. And I heard a comment tonight that these residents just didn't know that they were buying into a condominium corporation. There's no form to sign, that they didn't know they weren't going to have garbage and blue box pickup. I don't understand that part. Why are we not hearing lots of complaints from the other 19 condominium corporations? You know why? Because they understand what they bought into. They bought into a condominium corporation where they don't have garbage and blue box. Now, some are grandfathered, some are at curbside. We have made exceptions, correct. But Kara, this form that we're talking about, this status certificate, could you explain to me, like, Mr. Rice is a good man, good developer. Would that agreement not have been shared with real estate agents and with potential buyers? And at what point does that form get signed? I'm just confused about that.
The CAO?
Through you, Madam Chair, and I won't claim to be an expert in this area, but I'll tell you what I do know. And that is that a condominium board is required to prepare a status certificate. And in that status certificate, it notes the budget for the corporation and the financial statements and the reserve funds. And it also speaks about the maintenance, building insurance, amenities, how their contributions are going to be used. There could be a situation, and again, I'm not clear on the specifics of Eagle Court, where sometimes the buildings are occupied prior to an full occupancy permit being given. So we call that interim occupancy. And the condominium corporation is formed after people are living in the houses. But once the condominium corporation is registered, it is required to legally provide that status certificate to the owners within the corporation.
Legally required. So I've heard tonight that they didn't receive it. So I guess the law was broken. And that's unfortunate because, you know, as council approved this condominium corporation, the understanding was the private road, there'd be no pickup. So I won't be supporting that resolution when it comes in the notice of motion. But what I would support is that if this council feels that we want to provide garbage pickup for all condominium corporations, hopefully at curbside, because some of the roads probably just can't plain and simple can't get in with a big truck maybe. Because I'd be in favor of listening to a report from council, from our staff, and considering in January at our budget meeting that if it's going to give me the cost though. What is the cost to provide that service for all remaining 16, 17, 18 that aren't, or whatever they are, 12, 13, 14, that we're not providing the service? I can't support doing it for one private road and not the other 12. I just don't think it's right. So I'd be in favor of looking at it though. And if we can provide curbside, I feel for the people of Eagle Court. I honestly do. It doesn't sound like I do, but I do. It's an unfortunate situation, seeing those trucks drive by. Just pop in here and get ours. And but it's just not that simple. And particularly with Basra, where there's liability and risk involved. So anyways, that's my stance on it. If I've offended the people of Eagle Court, so be it. I'm not trying to offend anybody. It's just really frustrating when I've heard calls and emails, just take 30% off my tax bill. And I don't think legally, I've heard, we just can't do that. And It's not a legal thing we do with the province of Ontario. We can't do that. So anyways, I'd be willing to see your staff report, Karen, staff. In January, perhaps a business plan to say, how can we deal with all 20 condominium corporations?
Counselor Stack?
Thank you. And I didn't send any of these questions in advance, so I don't expect an answer. Just, and maybe I'll start by saying just on, to Counselor Halpin's point on Joseph Street. So my comments are going to be predicated on the fact that I lived at Joseph Street for 4 years, and he's correct. You did have to bring your garbage to the receptacle that was sort of at the far end. And as I did know that was the case. It was in my lease. And so having said all that, I think another comment on the issue of the status certificate. I'm just looking up the Condominium Act. I don't know for sure. It may be the case that they have to request the status certificate to summarize. Like I think it has to be probably I think it has to be on the website, but it may not be I'm curious to know whether they actually have to supply it. I think though the issue around, and I think this is relevant, the issue around whether it was not disclosed is actually not a municipal. We don't have authority to manage that. So I do encourage you wherever this result lands. And I think I take pleasure in pointing this out when it's an issue, is the provincial government is where you need to raise the concern. If you have an actual serious concern around the disclosures of your condominium corporation and its management, you do need to raise that to the Minister of Consumer Affairs, and you need to consider flagging that, because that is a serious concern if they're not properly articulating to their residents what services are provided. I think the way I would approach it, in my mind, how I'm trying to think about it is you approach what services have they flagged that they are providing, which sort of de facto would suggest that the municipality is not providing those services. So it just may be something you want to raise to your MPP, Lisa Thompson, as an area of concern. On to the specific point, I think I share some of the views here. Like I'd like to understand a couple of things. Some of the issues we're probably not going to resolve. So as I understand how taxes are assessed when you buy a home, the value of the home is assessed and then the taxes are applied accordingly. So it's difficult for me to assess the real unfairness here on the basis that, my operating assumption is that the cost of the homes would reflect the fact that it's a condominium. So your tax, and I think I noted this the last time, this is not a new statement. I think your tax rate reflects the fact that you live in a condominium. So the 30% number is a bit concerning to me, just on the basis that your homes would have been valued as condominiums, not as freehold, and that would affect the assessed value of the home. Presumably, I'd love to understand if we can get any information on that, but that's where I'm struggling a bit with that portion of the state of the argument. To the point around whether we're going to provide, whether there's an opportunity to provide services there, I do want to understand, and Jim, this is probably going to end up a question for you, is when we sort of come up with property taxes and the provincial law requires that it be applied uniformly, but if we're applying the tax rate, how does the tax rate reflect the services we're providing? So I think it would be useful for people to understand, because in one point we're saying it's too costly to provide the services, or it costs an additional amount to provide the services. But in another portion of the report, we're saying that we can't change the value of the taxes because everyone gets the same effective tax rate. So I'm just trying to understand if we're taking the position that it's an additional cost, if the cost of these services are factored into the tax rate. I guess the question I would have, when we build the cost of waste services, are we expressly excluding the condominium corps from the tax rate calculation? I don't know if you have that answer now or just can talk to me about it later.
That was a very big question. I'll see if the Director of Corporate Services would like to answer it tonight.
Thank you. I'll do my best to try and answer that. What we're raising for taxes for condos is, as you had said, it's the assessed rate, or the assessed value, excuse me, times the residential rate. So similar to any other residential home. You had raised a point about the value of that assessment could be very well different because it's a condo versus a freehold. That may be very well true, although but I would probably pose that question to impact to answer. There's a lot of factors that go into the value of a home. And anywhere where you live within the town, you'll have differences in value if you're on one side of the street or the other. That's just the nature of real estate. And so you could have people that have similar homes in terms of the same square footage, but it's just on different sides of the road that have different assessed values for whatever reason that impact is determining is the true market value. Our services are not, we're not excluding anything for our condos. So the fact that they are not delivering receiving a service does not allow us to charge them less tax. It's legislatively required that they're charged based on that assessed value times the residential rate.
So, yeah, so thank that. I think that's helpful. I think maybe what I'm trying to get at, and it was not well articulated, was, one of the premises of the petition is we pay for services we don't receive. So I think what I'm trying to understand is if when we are building that tax rate, whatever it is, I don't recall, it's not low, I know, but whatever our property taxes are on an annual basis. If it's calculated, we sort of go through the budget, we build the rate, and then we apply it on all properties. How are the costs of these services built into that calculation? Because what I'm trying to understand is, I'm trying to understand the point where we're saying it's going to cost an additional $40,000 to provide waste services for this community, this sort of strip of homes. I'm just trying to understand in my brain, like, how are we not calculating that in? It's either calculated into the cost of those services or not every year. So is it an actual additional amount, or?
When we determine the tax rate, it is based on our budgeted costs. Those budgeted costs would be based on the services that are being provided across the town, not differentiating between a condo or one neighborhood versus another. It is the overall cost of the town. We take that divided by the assessed value that determines the tax rate. And so if council were to decide that we're going to provide an incremental service, being the garbage pickup for these condos, then that budget would go up. And as a result, because that cost is going up, you divide that by the assessed value. Everyone in the town would then have a higher tax rate as a result.
The CAO wishes to comment as well.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. And I'm just trying to provide my plain language view on things, if I can, and Jim will jump in if I'm not describing it well. But I tend to think of the way that we budget, and it can come from two places. One is the tax levy, the other is the reserve. So Councillor Mayette, if I can go back to your comment on the water and wastewater, we do collect different fees for water and wastewater. So it is an exact example of what we're talking about here. So there are things I would offer that we charge to the tax levy that people don't use. As an example, I don't go skating at the arena. So we don't proportion out anything related to that. So if it goes into the tax levy, as Jim said, it's applied universally across all the properties. If it's coming from a reserve, so we do have like a waste management reserve, which is where I'm going to look to the guys across the room from me, which is where our fees for BASRA and our landfill and items like that are funded from. It's a little bit different in that we collect specific funding in order to offset those costs. So if that sort of helps explain it, those are kind of the two buckets that we look at when we have funding available.
Yeah, that's helpful. So then my last kind of comment is, I think, I'm not up, I think what I'll try to say is, I think if we are going to do this, we have to look at it at the cost for all condos, because to the Vice Deputy Mayor's point, like, this is not something we can do. I understand the premise, you can write without prejudice on anything. I will say that I can speak to that with some level of certainty, but once you put it out in the public sphere, it's going to be something that other residents are going to request. And so I don't think we can make this decision in a vacuum. I think it has to be a decision. So I would agree with that point that it has to be a decision made at a town level. And I think in order to do that, we have to understand what the cost implications are. Because it means that, you know, I don't think there would be a way to avoid a not insignificant tax increase if we're going to increase the services that are provided. So that I think would be something we'd have to look at business planning.
Are there any other comments? Councillor Matt?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Just lots of good conversation, lots of good points of view on this. And, you know, we talk about the way the budgets are constructed and way the reserves are handled, and we have to deal with that. And I sometimes have a hard time getting grasps on it, but I'm probably more than your average resident, because your average resident, they get a tax bill. And quite often in that tax bill, there's a leaflet that goes along with it with a pie chart that says, this is how your tax dollars are being spent. You're getting police is going to be 33%, and snow plowing and recreation. And yeah, I don't skate at the arena either, but I could if I wanted to, right? And there's a piece of that pie that says garbage collection and recycling. And so you take it from these people's point of view, they're getting this leaflet and it says there's a percentage of your taxes are being applied to garbage and recycling. But that service isn't available. They can go skating, they can go swimming, they can use our parks, but that service is excluded to them. And that's just fundamentally wrong. And and as far as going on private roads, Basward goes on private roads every garbage day. This is not a new concept. It's not some sort of taboo. They do it all the time. And there's examples are in the report where they're on private roads. You know, the example you use where you bring your garbage to a central collection point, I think that might be a solution. If we set up, you know, at the corner of Eagle Court and Fairway Lane, everybody brings their garbage out to the end of the lane. It's only a couple hundred yards. I bring my garbage that far every week. I have a long driveway, but that's a possibility. But I think we need to address the fundamental inequity that's going on here. Thank you.
Oh, Madam Chair.
Okay, well, we've had everybody go around once, so is it new information, Councillor Halpin?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you. I don't think it's fair to say that it's unfair to them, because when you choose a condo, and when you choose a condo, the condominium, the whole thing is made in the deal that this makes it less expensive. We're grouping these services together. And yeah, that's a condominium. They've existed forever. The very first condominium I had was Bruce County Condominium 1 in Kincardine. And those were the rules in it. And in Arlington, it was 20, whatever, Corporation 20. It's the same in that. And it's no more unfair to those people than it is to these people. And it is something that's allowed under the Planning Act that has benefits for the developer and the people that live there. So, you know, fair is fair.
Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt?
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I appreciate Councillor Stack's comment about not making this decision in a vacuum. I think we just need to I just think we ought to be careful with making exception for one private road. And when you buy into a condominium corporation, you know, the development, I'm repeating, but the developers go into it from a high density standpoint, and they try to build as many units as they can, but then they give up a little bit too. And that's, you people are contracting out your waste recycling and garbage, and that's just the way it is. That's the way condominium corporations work. So I you know, whereas I feel badly for the people at Eagle Court, I just can't get there with making an exception in a vacuum for one road. I have a motion to put forward, because I think maybe if there's an opportunity for additional sites to be picked up at curbside, then maybe we can consider that in the January budget. If it's 100 grand, 200 grand, 300, 400 grand, whatever the amount is, And we spread that cost around to all of our 8,000 taxpayers, or how many there are. Then if council approves that, so be it. And let's deal with all 1920 of them is my view on it. Let's put this thing to rest at budget. And so if I can get a seconder, but I've written here that council direct staff to prepare a business plan, including a cost analysis for the providing of garbage pickup for all 20 condominium corporations, and that the business plan be presented to council in January 2027 as part of the 2027 budget deliberations. So I can read that back again, but you notice I left out waste recycling because that's done by the province now. So whatever discussions take place with staff and in your business plan, if this is approved tonight, perhaps there's some discussions with Bosra, what can and cannot be done. I can't make those decisions on behalf of Bosra. I'm chair of the board, but that would be a waste management organization decision and Bosra. So I'll read it again. That council direct staff to prepare a business plan, including a cost analysis for the providing of garbage pickup for all 20 condominium corporations, and that the business plan be presented to council in January 2027 as part of the 2027 budget deliberations. And I just like to see the cost, and I think we should take a look at all 20 if I think that's the way to do it.
Well, the Vice Deputy Mayor has moved that. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Stack? Is there any discussion on this motion? Councillor Halpin? And then Councillor Grace?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you. I think now, Vice Deputy Mayor, now we're starting to fix things that aren't broken. Now we have all kinds of corporations that are happy, they're not complaining about anything, or this isn't a problem, and now I feel like I can't support this because we're fixing things that aren't broken.
Councillor Grace, then Councillor Mayette.
I was just going to clarify, I think the report said that there are 23 similar developments. Is that correct?
CAO?
Through you, Madam Chair, I would offer that perhaps the motion doesn't include a number and just notes all condominium corporations.
Madam Deputy Mayor, I believe the number is in the report. It's 300 grand. Isn't that the number you quoted? That if we were to extend these services to all of the condominium corporations that don't currently have it?
In fairness, that's the included cost for both winter control and garbage. They are preliminary numbers. Haven't looked at each site individually, looked at the limitations. There's caveats in the report about feasibility for each site. I believe what the Vice Deputy Mayor is alluding to is an alternative where a common point is provided at an intersection of a private road and a public road, which is not what that is. So it is not the same situation what that cost is estimated for.
Anything else? Oh, anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Stack?
I'm gonna get this wrong, but could we talk about adding, or does further clarity need to be provided in the motion to say a full assessment of the curbside pickup versus like a centralized location pickup?
Personally, I think the motion is inclusive.
Through you, Madam Chair, I wasn't going to correct the director while we were on camera here, but I think the way I read the motion is that staff would be looking at a business plan and cost analysis for the options for council to consider through the business plan. So both logically would be looked at depending on the circumstances at each individual location.
Councillor Mayette?
I would say, I would like to notice or make a point of order. I think the proper way to do this is to submit a notice of motion to go on an agenda like I have done. Just to put a motion on the floor for something like this, I think is out of order.
I'll just look to the clerk for a little advice on that. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'll offer some procedural advice while the decision of the ruling on the point of order is with the chair.
The motion that is recommended is in relation to the report, and it is providing direction to staff based on the report that was received. So I would believe that it is in line.
So I'll have to rule against the point of order. Are there any other comments? I'll just make the comment that I think it's a little premature in that if there's something related to the business plan, that's the next council. And to set parameters right now, leading up to that, I think it seems to me a little bit premature in that, you know, as a starting point, I would like to have the date and a little bit of background on the whole rice development. I know I sat at the table at the time. I know the mayor did as well. And I just can't remember what year it was to go back and look at minutes just to see how that all came to fruition. And I think there is a place for a little more research, but I just feel that it feels a little bit rushed right now in that, you know, we've had a discussion and the motion that was actually on the consent agenda was to receive the report for information. So we do have a motion before us though, but I don't feel that I can support it right now, given that I feel that it feels a bit rushed. And we do have some information and I just don't think I can support it at this time. Are there any other comments? So I'm going to call the question to the Vice Deputy Mayor's motion. Do I need to read it again? Okay, seeing that no one wants that. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion is defeated. I do have a motion that council receive the Eagle Court petition condominium services update report for information. Can I have a mover for that? To receive that, Councillor Mayette, seconded by Councillor Stack. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I just feel I need to comment to Councillor Mayette's comment about 33% for the police. That's a little high. So we have lots of discussions about that. So we'll go back to the order on the agenda. So we're back to 9, report of municipal officers and committees. 9.1 is the 2026 Major Initiatives Division and Capital Highlights from Q1. And the Chief Administrative Officer, Cara Van Mile, will make that report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm pleased to present the Q1 update, which reports on the major initiatives, division highlights, and capital highlights through the council-approved 2026 business plan, and it also aligns with the town's strategic plan. This report provides the first formal progress update of the year and offers council and the public a clear line of sight to the work underway across the organization. And there is quite a bit of work underway. We have 41 major initiatives, 94 division highlights, and 27 capital highlights underway this year. I'd also like to note that since we started the 2026 business plan, we've had 4 new initiatives added during Q1. These new initiatives are in the Office of the CAO, Operations, Community Services, and Development Services, and they've been incorporated directly in the business plan in order to keep council informed and the public up to date. At the end of Q1, I'm pleased to report that overall our progress is strong and we're trending ahead of schedule. Our major initiatives are currently tracking at 38% completion, which exceeds expectations for the first quarter. Division highlights are tracking at 31% and capital highlights are at 36%. I just wanted to take a few moments just to note a few examples for council and the public's information. Since we opened our operations at the Pride Aquatic and Center on January 26, 2026, we've seen strong early success and a lot of community uptake. The facility has quickly established itself as a vibrant community hub with significant participation across aquatics, fitness, and drop-in sport programming. In February alone, The center welcomed nearly 20,000 visits, and I asked staff to double check that, and it was nearly 20,000 visits, demonstrating strong demand and alignment with council's vision for this facility. The remaining construction work and exterior site works are now underway, and completion is anticipated this spring. Next, as we prepare for the municipal election in October, Q1 staff focused on legislative compliance, election readiness, and operational planning, including completion of the 2026 municipal election accessibility plan and development of candidate information package. Staff also continued collaborative work in our clerks division with the joint compliance audit committee with our neighboring municipalities and planning for a candidate information session. Our Strategic Initiatives Division has also been busy developing civic awareness campaigns with a goal to educate residents about the significance of civic engagement ahead of the 2026 election. The first pieces of that 5-month campaign rolled out this past week. In our operations team, we wrapped a busy season of winter operations and we're now looking towards spring. As we work towards our goal of planting 10,000 trees, staff were busy this quarter inspecting last year's 963 plantings and planning for this year's goal of 1,000 trees, including additional roadside trees along Ridge Street and our Highway 21 projects. They were also hard at work in Q1 planning for another successful tree sale, which I'm told sold out right away with over 500 trees in one day. With council's recent approval of the location of the new fire station to replace the current Station 60, work on the design and build of the new station is underway. Internal meetings and planning have been set up to move this initiative forward, with next steps including a request for proposal for design and engineering. Finally, I'd like to highlight the work of our engineering team, which was done in Q1 to prepare for the 2026 road construction projects. From working with contractors on planning, designs, and scheduling to hosting public engagement and neighborhood meetings, this team has already been busy to ensure success with this year's projects. While we recognize construction can be inconvenient for the community, the town is committed to thoughtful planning to reduce disruptions while making these important infrastructure improvements. In closing, these examples represent just a snapshot of the many projects and initiatives that staff are advancing as part of the business plan. I encourage council and the public to look at the full report to see the complete scope of work underway in the organization. I would like to remind everyone that there's several ways to stay informed. Progress on all of our business plan initiatives continue to be shared again, through the town's live dashboards on our website, providing real-time updates across all departments. And additionally, the municipality has launched our Engage Saugeen Shores website, where residents can learn more, follow projects, and provide input. In closing, Q1 reflects a strong start to the year with progress ahead of schedule and aligned with council's priorities. I would like to take a moment to thank our staff across the organization for their continued commitment to advancing the business plan while also delivering our day-to-day services that residents rely on. I would like to also thank council for its direction and ongoing support, which enables this team to work to move forward effectively, and we can continue delivering on that plan through your leadership. I'll now turn it back to council for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, I have a recommendation that council receive the 2026 Major Initiatives Division and Capital Highlights Q1 Update Report for information. Can I have a moved by Councillor Grace, seconded by the Vice Deputy Mayor? Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. First, I just wanted to say thank you very much for this. For people who are interested in following what we're doing, this is a tremendous report to look at. On the town's website, there is a way for the public to see in real time what the town is doing in each component or each department of our staff. A performance measurement dashboard that's basically introduced, but you can track the progress as it's going on. I was glad to see that on social media, we're already seeing that civic awareness education campaign, social media posts, advertising for members of the public to apply for the Joint Compliance Audit Committee, and that Bruce County is hosting a workshop in the next couple of weeks for those who are interested in running for municipal office. So that's great. I did have a couple of questions for the Director of Community Services. One is about the Chantry Island lease. There was information in the report about the Chantry Island lease and the negotiations and conversations with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. So I wondered if the director could give us an update on the status of that project.
Thank you for the question, and through you, Madam Chair. The conversations with the DFO are going well. Our Parks Manager, Adam Parsons, is the lead on that, and he's supported by members of the Marine Heritage Society as well. So what will happen is council will see some of the future year highlights, the recommended capital repairs through the 27 business plan for council consideration. At this time, we don't anticipate that there would be a cost request through this council for those repairs, and we would be looking at fundraising, grants, and hopefully support from the federal government.
Thank you very much. That's good news. One other question on the Long Dock Pavilion. Do you have a target date for completion on that?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Madam Chair, we just awarded the contract late last week, and we're anticipating it will be done before July 1st. Fingers crossed.
Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt.
Yep, thank you, Deputy Mayor and Kara and staff. These quarterly updates are really helpful. And there's lots of great information in there, and it gives the community a good snapshot idea of how many really good things are happening and how busy staff are and the great work they're doing. And I just want to thank you and staff for these quarterly reports. To you, to Director of Community Service Strides, I'm just wondering, again, special thanks to the Wellness Center staff again. I know I repeat it every meeting. I get every opportunity I get to thank them for being so friendly and courteous and welcoming. And it's just, I was at the Breaker Swim team had a 5-team competition here a week ago Sunday, and Gina and I attended, and boy, the bleachers up top were packed. The pool side was packed. The viewing areas were packed. It was really good to see, and talked to a few residents from outside of town that obviously there's in Carden and South Huron, their own sound come over, but the number of people who stop, go for lunch, fill up the gas tank, and the economic spin-offs for an event like that, no different than hockey tournaments or ball tournaments, but the economic spin-offs we receive is great. So I just want to thank staff again, but I just wondering, Charles, about the revenue. I think the operating deficit, well, we know what was projected, well, in 2025, what it was in 2026. 2025 and then 2026 budget. When will we see the real numbers in terms of, whether we're going to be, we're close to on target with a $500,000 operating deficit, or 400 or 300 or 200, whatever that number is. But when will we first see our first numbers in terms of revenues and expenditures, how we're streaming along, for the bottom line operational cost?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Madam Chair, is council will see those numbers through the 2027 budget deliberations.
Okay, that's fine. I guess that was my question. Not till then. We won't see it till year end then. Is it possible though? Is it possible to see something maybe after 6 months or 9 months, just to see how we're trending?
The CAO.
Through you, Madam Chair, the director can correct me, but my memory is saying that we committed to a report to council once there was a full year of operating costs, that we would bring a full and complete report back. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you. It is good to see all the work happening. I encourage people to read those reports, and thanks for all the work. And I just want to say thank you. There's over 504 trees sold, so that's halfway to our 1,000 trees through private ownership. This year, smaller trees were put out for sale and they took well. And I have some information I'm going to forward to you of another group that wants to plant trees in our town. So I'll send that to you later. Thank you.
Anyone else? I had a question about something we did, council did in Q1. We agreed, we approved a four-way stop at the corner of High Street and Gray Street. And we approved a change in the speed limit along High Street for a certain section. I'm just curious to know when that will be implemented. My request or my hope really is that those things happen before the long weekend in May. And I'll just tack onto that the parking painting or stop sign painting if that can happen too. I know that that is contingent on other things, but I was curious to know when a decision of council would be implemented because it was during Q1 as well. So it's the four-way stop at High and Gray Street, and then this change in the speed limit along High Street. And I apologize for not asking in advance, but do you have a sense of when that might happen? Anybody? The CA?
Through you to you, Madam Chair. I think if we can, we'll follow up directly with a note to council after the meeting. I know Rahul Amin will have a good handle on when those changes were to be incorporated. I don't want to say that they are tied to phase 2, but I also know they're working towards phase 2 of High Street being sort of substantially complete by June 30th. So that would suggest that most of the improvements are implemented in Q2, but we'll get a definite answer to you on those Q1 pieces you mentioned.
Thank you for that. With respect, adding 2 more stop signs on High Street at the High and Gray Street intersection is well removed from where most of the phase 2 work is going on, all of the phase 2's work, and the speed limit as well change. Anyway, anything else further? I'll now call the vote. All those in favor? That's carried. We now have a report from the Director of Development Services, Dwayne Evans, and it relates to Bill 98, Building Homes and Improving Transportation Infrastructure Act. And I'll turn the floor over to you, Director Evans.
Great. Thank you, Deputy Mayor and members of council for the opportunity to present this report. Bill 98 was recently introduced by the province, and this report outlines staff's key comments and concerns for council's consideration. Staff are seeking council's endorsement to submit the town's comments to the province. It's important to note that county staff have also completed their review and presented their comments to county council for consideration. Our concerns align with the county's concerns. However, we provide a local municipal context. So in terms of Bill 98, it was introduced on March 30th, and the stated goals are to speed up housing delivery, reduce development costs, and improve alignment between land use planning and transportation infrastructure. To achieve this, the bill proposes amendments to several major pieces of legislation, including the Planning Act, the Municipal Act, the Development Charges Act, Building Code Act, along with new transit-related legislation. Many important details will be determined, though, later through provincial regulations, which have not yet been released. As council is aware, Saugeen Shores continues to experience strong growth with approximately 16% population growth between 2016 and 2021, and ongoing pressure tied to our regional players such as Bruce Power. Council and staff are already working to increase housing supply through attainable housing initiatives, incentives, and participation in the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund. Staff generally support the goal of building more homes, but stress that speed must be balanced with infrastructure capacity, financial sustainability, environmental protection, and community character. Bill 98 proposes provincially standardized official plan templates and land use designations. These would apply when a municipality undertakes its next official plan review. Our next official plan review is anticipated in 2027 and follows approval of the Bruce County official plan. Staff are concerned that a highly standardized approach could reduce local flexibility and council's ability to reflect the town's rural areas, shoreline, and cottage communities and servicing realities. The province is also consulting on a possible minimum urban residential lot size of approximately 175 square meters, which is significantly smaller than our current minimum, which is currently around 450 square meters. Staff have concerns about the applicability of a single standard across all communities, with the potential impact on neighborhood character, servicing and stormwater capacity, environmental outcomes, and long-term infrastructure and asset management costs. In addition, Bill 98 proposes changes that would allow municipalities to meet parkland dedication requirements using encumbered lands. For clarity, encumbered lands are properties that are constrained by legal, environmental, or physical limitations. These could include utility corridors, floodplains, steep slopes, environmentally protected areas, and lands with easements or access restrictions. While these lands may technically count as open space, they are often not suitable for active recreation, playground, sports fields, or community gathering spaces due to safety, accessibility, liability, or maintenance concerns. Staff are concerned that allowing encumbered lands to replace functional parkland could reduce a town's ability to provide safe, usable, and well-located parks, particularly as new neighborhoods are developed. There may be pressure from the development community to accept encumbered lands to satisfy the parkland dedication requirements in the Planning Act. If the municipality rejects those lands, developers do have the option to appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and they can order the lands to be accepted by the municipality. Bill 98 also limits municipal authority to impose local environmental or sustainability requirements beyond those set out in provincial legislation and the Ontario Building Code. This may restrict the town's ability to require basic elements such as landscaping and tree planting, buffers between land uses, and naturalized areas and permeable surfaces. These tools support climate resilience, urban canopy growth, and neighborhood character, and staff recommend maintaining reasonable municipal discretion in these areas. The bill also encourages increased use of communal water and wastewater systems, particularly in unserviced or rural areas. While these systems can enable development, staff caution that in many Ontario communities, small communal systems initially operated privately have eventually become municipal responsibilities. And as well, this has resulted in high operating and capital costs due to limited economies of scale. Staff recommend that the province clearly define ownership, long-term responsibility, funding, and risk transfer mechanisms beyond widespread adoption. Bill 98 fully exempts nonprofit retirement homes from development charges, which may support needed seniors housing. We currently exempt long-term care homes from development charges as defined by the Long-Term Care Act. If the retirement home doesn't meet that definition and is not aligned with the Development Charges Act of nonprofit housing, we as a municipality would in fact collect some development charges. An example might be a developer proposing a new retirement residence that provides independent living and assisted living suites. Depending on how housing types are defined, this development could be exempt from development charges, and the legislation does not provide guaranteed funding to offset this lost revenue. Bill 98 also provides the province to mandate integrated transit fares. While this is expected to have limited direct impact locally, staff recommend that regulations recognize the specialized mandate of SMART and other rural and door-to-door transit services with appropriate flexibility. Finally, staff emphasize the importance of applying both the rural lands and Indigenous lands to Bill 98's implementation. Standards designed for large urban centers may have unintended consequences for rural and small town municipalities, cottage and shoreline communities, Indigenous neighboring adjacent communities. Meaningful consultation and flexible implementation is essential. So in summary, staff support the province's objective to increase housing supply and improve approval efficiency. However, staff recommend advocating for local flexibility in planning and design, functional and usable parkland, sustainable infrastructure funding, careful treatment of communal servicing, and rural and Indigenous informed implementation. As mentioned previously, the recommendation before Council is to endorse the comments in the report and direct staff to submit them to the province as part of the current consultation on Bill 98. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I have a motion that council endorse the comments in this report and direct staff to forward them to the province through the Environmental Bill of Rights Registry for consideration. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Grace, seconded by Councillor Mayette. Any questions, comments? Councillor Halpin first, then Councillor Mayette.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you. I read your report. It's a really good report. Can you just explain the encumbered lands a little bit more? Like what exactly does that look like compared to a typical subdivision where they'd say, okay, we've got a parkette here. So what does that look like?
So through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Hoppin. Essentially, when you're going through the plan to subdivision process, there's a conversation discussion that takes place in terms of identifying lands that would be dedicated to the municipality for uses. In terms of you have that ability as municipality to negotiate, we'd like this for these reasons. It's going to be appropriate for a playground, a sports field, etc. But under the proposed legislation, essentially, there's less ability to have those negotiations in terms of the developer can indicate these are the lands that we're going to give you. And you can, as municipality, indicate, well, you know, it's got utility corridor. It's a very steep area. Like we can't put sports fields here. So as much as you can say we don't want those lands, the developer under the new legislation will be able to say, these are the lands you're getting. And if you don't accept them as a municipality, the developer can appeal that to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and the tribunal can say, no, these are the lands you're getting. So it takes away your ability to have those conversations and negotiations.
Thank you. The government is continuing to take choices away from municipalities. The other thing is 175 square meter lot. It's only 1,800 square feet. A lot of people build a house that big. Like, I mean, like a house with a garage is around 18 to 2,000 square feet. What is there? How would that work? Would that be severed off the back of a house that, like in the old part of Port Elgin, and be on a laneway, or what does that look like?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Hoppin. So possibly yes, but not automatically, not everywhere. Lots of that size, 175 square meters, could be severed and accessed by a laneway. However, the caveat is that planning, zoning, and servicing conditions need to be met. So in other words, Bill 98, as is currently proposed, does not guarantee that those things are going to take place. So to your point, in terms of the legislation doesn't permit lot severances, it doesn't permit rear lot or laneway lots, and it doesn't guarantee access arrangements. It's only speaking to the minimum lot size. There's still a process that needs to be followed with respect to those lots being created.
Councillor Mayette.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. It's a great report. You've done a really good job of summarizing these things. I learned a lot by reading it. The one question I had was around the use of communal services in the rural perspective. We had a situation predating your employment here, obviously, but in Burgoyne, where you had 20 odd houses being served by a common well. That's the way that hamlet was set up. And because that was against the current laws, and you could only have 5 before it became a municipal service. So are we saying that under the new rules, that would have been allowed now to have more than 5 households being served off a communal well? So we could essentially, I'm not saying we should go back in Burgoyne, but that would have been compliant under these new proposed rules. Is that right?
Yeah, to you, Madam Chair, and I'll answer as I can, and Director Prentice may jump in, but so just in terms of the legislation basically is establishing a framework for water, wastewater communal systems. But there's no numerical number at this point in the legislation to allow that. Right now, in terms of communal systems, they're established. There may or may not be an agreement whereby if it's a private system and it fails or it's not meeting standards, it becomes the responsibility of the municipality. But what the legislation essentially doing is establishing that framework, establishing those parameters, and putting those safeguards into place. And maybe I'll let Director Prent speak to personal experience or experience with those systems.
I suppose my concern is around as you allude to, we're back to the future. So there was a time where it was easier and relatively routine for small communal water systems to be set up for small rural developments, usually involving a well, which would then chlorinate and distribute it to something like 20 homes. And Sauble Beach had a large number of those. When they raised the standards, the unit costs for each of those small ones went so high that it became difficult. So I suppose what I'm saying is that if they intend to allow or make easier those systems coming into place again, the safeguards have to be there to make sure that if they are designed and constructed, and the idea being they operated privately, that they do not end up landing on the municipalities' roles and responsibilities, which is what happened in the past. And it was a real problem. So that's I guess what I'll say there.
Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Dwayne, this is a great report. I completely endorse your comments. I'm not very optimistic, to be honest, about how effective they'll be in making any changes. But I do have a question about the site plan control and landscaping section, because over the last, I don't know what, 2 years, year and a half, we've had the site plan control removed from our power in terms of developments which have 10 or fewer dwelling units. And would this proposal then be saying that this would apply regardless of the number of dwelling units in that development?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Grace, my understanding and read of the legislation is it just applies to site plan across the board. So there's no threshold in terms of establishing the number of units to which it would or would not apply.
So that's what I was afraid of, because we've already seen the impact of that in our municipality on various, what I guess the province considers to be small developments, but for people living in neighborhoods where they are faced with, 3 4plexes in a formerly R1 neighborhood, and us not being able to require any kind of buffering or whatever because of that. Well, it's too bad, not to mention the fact that, as your report points out, landscaping is important, not just for issues of privacy or whatever, but also because of climate change and the environment. And if we're just going to be hardscaping everything with concrete, that's a real step backwards. Thank you for your report. I hope it has some effect.
Any other comments? Councillor Davinsky?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and indeed it is a comment, no questions. I fear Bill 98 is the province saying one size fits all. I support Dwayne's report. It has everything we have to say because one size doesn't fit all. I realize we have to wait to see what all the details are in Bill 98. But the province has a habit of showing up with no consultation with smaller municipalities, and then we're stuck with the cost. This could happen again. I'm a member of the Saugeen Mobility and Regional Transit, or SMART. We are concerned with the same issues as already have been mentioned. SMART, though, depends on municipal funds to operate. But what happens if the cost just becomes too much? We're addressing it, but the Bill 98 isn't helping in this regard. Bill 98 has suggested that maybe transit fares will go down and will never cover a good portion of the cost of transporting people, that smart clients. And if it comes down and we're stuck with that extra cost, it flows down to the municipality. And that could be a problem. So I will definitely support the report we have and pray that open minds read it and don't think that what's happening in the 6 can happen here too, and it will be perfect. Thank you.
Councillor Stack?
Thank you. I just had one point of clarification. For the development charges tied to infrastructure funding, is the intent that that applies to all communities or only municipalities that are considered to be high cost development charges? So I was just reading something on TVO about that nuance. I'm just wondering if you can clarify whether the intention of the act, I haven't read the legislation itself. Is that concept for the development charges uniform, or is it targeting certain municipalities that are seen as having higher development charges?
Through you, Madam Chair, my read thus far, in terms of the reading that I've done, suggests that it's just uniform. The legislation applies across all municipalities.
Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt?
Yeah, thanks for your report, Dwayne, and I'm really very concerned about the 5% parkland dedication. And I think I wish the wording in here had been a little bit stronger, but I just, can you explain, like, with the 5% parkland dedication, you talk about encumbrances. Will, in the 5%, for example, will developers be able to use a portion or all of the 5% for example, environmental hazard property? That's the first question. Secondly, would it pertain to easement agreements? So if the town is using it, or if there's an easement is necessary with that property, is that part of the 5%? What do you mean by encumbrances? How is it going to impact our future 5% parkland dedication?
Through you, Madam Chair. So in terms of the 5%, through the planning process, municipalities, through the Planning Act, municipalities get dedicated 5% of the land, or minimum of 5% of the land, or financial contribution. If a municipality if a developer indicates that they're going to dedicate land to the municipality, historically, as I've indicated, in terms of, you have some conversations about the design of the plan of subdivision, and you identify, where you're going to put a park, where you're going to put a sports field. Under the legislation, and when we're accepting those lands as municipality, we're considering future land uses. What are we going to use those lands for? How are we going to use them? Under the legislation, essentially the developer has more opportunity to indicate, here's my plan of subdivision. There's 5% of my land slopes down to the river. I'm going to give you that 5%. That's going to meet the requirements of the Planning Act. We as a municipality can say, well, we have no use for that 5%. It slopes down. It's not level. What are we going to use it for? The developer can say, well, that's what I'm going to give you. And we can say, that's not acceptable. We're not going to accept that. The developer, if they wish, can then take it to the Ontario Land Tribunal and say, under Bill 98, there's no criteria that says the municipality can indicate, A, B, C. So the Ontario Land Tribunal could theoretically say, municipality, that's your 5%, and sorry, it's not flat, but that's what you're getting.
Just so I'm clear then, Dwayne, so with the 5% parkland dedication, if Bill 98's approved, they could say to us that 5% you're getting is environmental hazard property. Is that correct?
Correct.
I read a report recently from OSUM who are fighting that vehemently, arguing that point with the provincial government. And I hope they win that battle because I think it's just plain wrong. I think we fought this. Kristen Schreider, Jane Jagielowski, Director of Community Service across the province, have fought this for decades. Decades. That 5% doesn't pertain to environmental hazard property. If they want to give us that over and above, fine. But I'm glad to see OSUM fighting it hard. Pardon me, AMO. I said OSUM. I'm going to the OSUM conference this week. I've got OSUM on my mind. But AMO's fighting that hard. And I'm sure it'll be talked about at OSUM this week as well. But I just think there need to be stronger wording about that because I think that's just plain wrong what they're doing with 5%. It's just not right.
Well, I'll add in that I wish we would be even stronger with our language, and I had noted 4 points which were picked up, but the lot size question, some of the people in the room will remember the signs along Market Street in particular stop the lot splitting, and it's not just a laneway lot being created. It's a lot fronting on a street that can be slivered down into a very skinny piece of land and still meet the requirement. And then, how do you deal with setbacks and that sort of thing? So the lot size question to me is significant. The parkland, it was mentioned by a couple of people, certainly inheriting land, I guess, that has no value for anything. What's the point? We want the land for the use of and the betterment of the community. Councillor Grace and others brought up about climate resilience. There's language in there. But most recently we had quite a bit of water and, there have been some issues in the community related to the way that water has impacted infrastructure. So, there's certainly some merit in all of the planning that's gone on here, all of the professional staff who've had opinions and put things in place and react and proactively come up with things for council to consider, to just simply disregard all of the good that's come out of the way that our community's been developed so far. Just it seems to me so wrong. The one about DC reductions, Councillor Stack brought up a little bit about that. I think embedded in that, though, is that there's something about the potential for a community to claim the amount that they're not getting from the developer, but the language isn't there. Am I reading that correctly, that there'll be this pool of money that if your community decides to have some discounting on your development charges to match whatever provincial thing is going on that week, that you can apply for, not guaranteed, but you can apply for and tap into potentially a refund from either the feds or the province to cover that. Is that part of the whole DC conversation with Bill 98, or am I thinking about something completely different?
No, you're correct for sure. I think the key thing is in terms of it's not guaranteed. You're not guaranteed to receive any support or assistance with respect to those DC charges.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but my reading of it was that it's not that you have to, it's your community could choose to, your council could choose to. Is that accurate, or is it more coming down that no, it's going to happen?
So in terms of, for example, nonprofit retirement homes, that's coming down. That's, you have to. With respect to, voluntary, I'll call it, reductions, my understanding is, to your point, that yes, in terms of you can do that, but again, you're not guaranteed. You make that decision to reduce it, but you may end up having to absorb it if you don't get any support.
Thank you. Well, seeing no further comments or questions, I do have a motion that council endorse the comments in this report and direct staff to forward them to the province through the Environmental Bill of Rights Registry for consideration. All in favor? That's carried. I think it's 9:14. We can take a 10-minute break here, so we will resume at 9:25. Oscar, are you ready? Well, it's 9:25, so I'll bring us back to order, call us back to order. So the next item on our agenda is 9.3. It is the healthcare financial and subsidy baseline report, and I will look to the manager of strategic initiatives, Jill Root, to make that report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The report in front of you introduces the 2026 foundational pathway and outlines the current financial and subsidy baseline for healthcare, giving Council an initial reference for future decisions. This is a starting point to understand the financial impact of the file to the municipality in order to make informed decisions on program improvements going forward. In October of 2025, Council received the Phase 1 Municipal Healthcare Administration Review Final Report, which recommended moving from an ad hoc approach to a more structured, transparent, and accountable municipal healthcare portfolio. Ahead of doing so, the report also outlined 6, not 5, as we combine the first 2 financial and subsidy baseline activities or tactical steps required to formally align on a council-endorsed role before moving towards a more structured healthcare administration program. This Phase 2 focuses on governance clarity, not program implementation. The first report represents the first activity, the financial and subsidy baseline, setting the groundwork for the reports that follow, including municipal healthcare role and governance framework, healthcare asset and contract alignment, regional and intergovernmental alignment, and then final options. To develop the financial and subsidy baseline, we inventoried all health-related activities supported by the town, matched them with financial records, reviewed agreements and subsidies, assessed asset costs for town facilities and housing, conducted site visits, and consulted external partners. This approach gives Council a single source of information. This report walks through 3 key issues identified in Phase 1 and shows how they are being addressed. The first one is fragmented financial oversight, costs sitting across multiple departments and accounts. The second one is incomplete cost visibility, real supports that are not consistently tracked to a single healthcare budget, especially time, capacity absorbed across departments and shared overhead. And 3, informal and legacy subsidies, supports that have evolved over time and may rely on expired agreements or informal understandings. The report first outlines the scope of what the town is currently doing in healthcare, grouped into 5 categories: physician recruitment and retention, physician onboarding and service supports, town-owned medical facilities and assets, financial contributions to the broader health system, and governance administration oversight. This inventory matters as it shows that healthcare support is more than direct incentives. There are also facilities, housing, staff time, and shared services involved. Next, the report explains that we can quantify with reasonable confidence and what is still difficult to fully attribute. The financial and subsidy baseline consolidates direct operating and capital costs that are currently visible in budgets, financial records and agreements, things like physician incentives, facility operations, capital costs, and maintenance. At the same time, the report flags distributed costs that are real but less visible, such as time capacity absorbed across departments, administrative supports, subsidized rent, and some maintenance work that's not tracked to a single business unit. This distinction is important. The financial and subsidy baseline is a starting point, and it identifies where better costing and tracking will improve decision making over time. Section 3 brings the work together into Table 1, which provides an initial financial picture across program areas and across time. The 2025 actuals, the 2026 budget, and an average of 27 to 2029. This table aims to provide Council with a general approximate overview of municipal healthcare supports and obligations. Again, it's a snapshot in time. Some numbers are estimates, and as we improve consistency and capture distributed costs more accurately, the financial and subsidy baseline will be refined. At a minimum, the financial subsidy baseline indicates that the town's healthcare involvement is on an order of approximately $500,000 per year. When you include direct program costs plus time capacity absorbed across departments, and it rises further when estimated foregone opportunity costs are considered. For example, if a town-owned clinic space is provided at below rent, the difference between the market rent and the rent charged is an implicit cost to the town. That said, I want to be clear that we have not completed a current market evaluation of the clinic space. Any market rate comparison should be treated as an illustrative estimate level example until that analysis is done. This does not mean every dollar is new spending. Some of it is existing effort, existing assets, but it does mean council is already supporting healthcare through multiple channels. The financial and subsidy baseline helps council see those channels together rather than one at a time. It is also important to be clear about this report, what this report is not. It does not evaluate outcomes, service levels, or value for money. It is a financial and subsidy baseline intended to improve clarity and give council a foundation for the governance and policy decisions that will follow in later reports. The report also highlights key risks that come from supporting healthcare as a portfolio that spans departments, agreements, and town-owned assets. The risks are summarized at a high level and include financial visibility, cost allocation, agreement structure and currency, multiple year legacy commitments, asset and life cycle impacts, and the overall governance and decision framework. The intent is to ensure council has an early view of where exposure exists so that future direction can be set with clear parameters and consistent decision-making. In closing, the recommendation is simply that council receive the financial and subsidy baseline report for information. The value that it provides is a consolidated starting point, again, a snapshot to support council's future decisions about the town's role, governance, and resourcing in healthcare. The next report coming forward is the municipal healthcare role and governance framework, which will build directly on this financial and subsidy baseline and begin to define the accountability structure needed before options are brought forward. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Well, you already heard the recommendation, but I'll read it again. The recommendation is that council receive the healthcare financial and subsidy baseline report for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Halpin, seconded by Vice Deputy Mayor. Any comments, questions? Vice Deputy Mayor first, then Councillor Halpin.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Jill. Jill, just a tremendous start. And the question is, who's like, that's a lot of work. And that's a lot of investigating and going to sites and speaking to people and a lot of numbers. Who's doing all of this?
Through you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the question. Many of them are sitting in this room. Director Schreider, Director Bunshaw, the treasurer, quite a few of us have been working on it.
So all internal?
Through you, Madam Chair, that's correct.
Great. Well, I just want to commend you. I think it's a great start, and I'm glad we made this decision to go this route. There's a lot of valuable information that's going to be presented to council. On page 4 of your report, you talk about physician incentives, $55,000 in 2025, and 2026 was $119,000. Why is that double, Joe? What happened what happened between last year and this year?
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you for the question. With the incentives, there is a difference between actual and what's been budgeted. And so we have one line in our budget, which is physician incentives. So that total amount of money is not paid out in incentives every year. So that's what the difference shows.
Counselor Halpin.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you. Thanks for this report. Is it fair to say this is the first time we were able to reveal to the public how much we're spending on healthcare? Like, would this be the first time the public found out that we're spending, for this year, just a little shy of $500,000 on healthcare?
Through you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the question. It's the first time since I've worked for the municipality. I can't speak prior to that.
And thank you. And I'm glad we're doing this report because I think that, the public often asks us, oh, they're concerned about healthcare and everything, but this is really good information because now the public knows how much we're spending, and then the public can say, hey, that's a good idea, we like this, or spend more. They could say, hey, wait, let's hold back on what we're doing here. So I think one of the really valuable things from this is that we're able to be transparent with what we're spending on healthcare. And I think that's good governance and it's good business sense. And thank you for working on this. I think it's high time we got all the different incentives and different programs all onto one page and see what we're doing and make them fair. And if we're going to give incentives, make them the same and make them fair. So thank you for your report. I appreciate that you showed us in the next one where we are in the report so we know what's coming up next and everything. And thank you for your work on this.
Counselor Mayette.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Great report. I knew we spent money on healthcare, and I knew we were subsidizing this, and we were supplying buildings and things, and this sums it up, and it is a lot of money. And this combined with the contributions from citizens. I mean, a lot of people put money into the Bright Shores health system, and we're spending millions of dollars, really, a year on what is essentially a provincial responsibility. So this illustrates it clearly that this is another example of many examples of downloading of the responsibility onto the municipalities a little bit at a time. You don't eat the elephant all at once, but I can feel the weight of the elephant on us now with this. Thank you.
Counselor Grace.
Thank you. Jill, the second document that we got here, it has the Optimus SBR. What's their role in this?
Through you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the question. That was the current state report that the consultant did in 2025. It was the first step in the end result, which was the final report. So that information was what they used to deliver the final report.
Anyone else? I wanted to ask, and I appreciate Counselor Grace's question there at the end. The report that was attached as the second piece is dated July 17th, 2025. We had something before us in council, at council in October, but we didn't see this report. Did we see the final report? Oh, the manager is nodding her head yes. So we paid a consultant for this report and that final report. I'm very grateful and I appreciate you mentioned almost everybody in the room contributed to what we're seeing tonight. We did allocate another sum of money though for another step, right? That's still to come. I think it was $100,000.
Back to you, Madam Chair. That was internal resources to both continue to recruit physicians and also do this work. So that's the money you're speaking of, to use for internal resources to get that work complete.
So it's not another consultant. The manager shook her head no. Okay, I have a motion that council receive the healthcare financial and subsidy baseline report for information. All in favor? That's carried. We have no close to public tonight. We do have 7 items on the consent agenda. And I can entertain a motion that items 12.1 to 12.5 and then 12.7 to 12.8 be approved and received for information. However, does anybody wish to have anything spoken to individually? Councillor Stack?
Just because I declared a conflict under the communications, we can declare.
Well, we can isolate that one out. Councillor Halpin?
Thank you, and through you, are you going to go through them in order?
I just wanted to know if anybody wanted anyone isolated out individually.
No.
Okay, so Councillor Stack, the one that you're declaring is 12.8. Okay, 12.86. Okay, so maybe we can do 12.8 separately. Okay, so we have 6 items now at this time. And the motion would be that items 12.1 through 12.5 and then 12.7 be approved and received for information. Is there a mover and a seconder? Moved by the Vice Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Grace. Okay, now we can move through them individually. Yes, for questions. Okay, so that's correct, right? Yep. Okay. Double check. 12.1 is the 2026 Municipal and School Board Election Policies and Procedures. Are there any comments, questions about that item? I had one, nobody else. I did want to ask, there's reference in this part to, I think it was $74,000 worth of election expenses. Do you have a total? Because in the update, the Q1 update, there was reference to $31,000 for election readiness and a $20,000 civic awareness campaign. Is the anticipated cost associated with preparing and running the election about $125,000? Is that a question for the Director of Corporate Services?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you, if I could report back to Council directly with the anticipated 2026 election budget, I would ask to do so at a subsequent time.
Thank you. There were component parts. Okay, anything else about 12.1? Okay, then moving on, 12.2 is about the Chesley Street Docking Committee lease renewal. Any questions or comments? Councillor Halpin?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you. So is this a standard rate of increase? So for the docking there, the current rent is $4,600, which, you know, is pretty reasonable. It's a big chunk of land and everything that. But by year 5, that'll be 20% more than in 2031, it'll be 20% more. Is that the standard that we use for figuring these type of things? Is that also applied to other rentals that we have?
We'll ask the Director, Kristen Schreier, Director of Community Services, for a response.
Thank you for the question, and through you, Madam Chair. Through the fees and charges bylaw, annually is approved by council, and the 2026 rate was 5.3%. So in that agreement, it would have been calculated through that for each of the term.
Anything else about the Chesley Street Docking Committee lease renewal? Seeing none, 12.3 relates to development charges treasurer statement. Any questions, comments? $12.4 is the 2025 preliminary operating financials. Any questions or comments? Councillor Halpin?
Thank you, and Deputy Mayor, and through you. We're showing a really good surplus right now. Is this more than what was anticipated, or are we on track for what we're anticipating for this year?
I'll direct that question to the Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer Daniel.
So across the organization, we had a surplus that was approximately $100,000 better than budget, which on a $50 million budget, I'd say tracks to the budget very well.
Anything else? Okay, 12.5 is the water agreement with Saugeen First Nation. Any comments, questions? And then 12.7 is the Municipal Buy Ontario Procurement Directive. Any comments or questions? Councillor Halpin?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you. It's nice that the provincial government is going to provide training, but their training comes 2 weeks after some of this stuff is implemented, and just like they're in a big hurry to do things, but the implementation and the training are often lagging behind. Just a comment.
Any other comments? That's a good one. Sorry, oh, Councillor Davinsky?
Yes, I would like to ask through you to whoever can answer it. Is this going to affect us now? As far as purchasing fleets, but whatever the case may be, are we under the gun right now?
And we'll have the Chief Financial Officer respond to that.
We've taken a close look at the directive and the implementation dates in the directive. Any existing RFPs or tenders that were issued prior to the implementation dates of April 13th and May 15th would not be subject to the legislation. So we have not had any RFPs or tenders issued yet that need to comply, but it is an immediate implementation date, and we do expect shortly to have some fleet purchases and some overall construction purchases that will need to be in compliance with the legislation.
Okay, then we do have a motion on the floor to what's the wording, to approve and receive for information items 12.1 to 12.5 and 12.7. All in favor? That's carried. Then moving on to 12.8, I would entertain a motion that the following items 12.8.1 through 12.8.5, and then 12.8.7 through to 12.8.12 be received for information. Can I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Halpin, seconded by Councillor Davinsky. Does anybody wish to speak to any one of those? Councillor Halpin, and then Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you. I'm not sure if this is the right order, but 12.8.10, which is the Ground Source Protection Committee of Concern. And perhaps this is something that we should be joining on, because it appears that they're kind of going against the advice of the Water Walkerton inquiry with Justice Connor that did that. And one of their things is that water source protection needs to remain a local initiative by the watershed. Now, it might be like a waste of time doing this, but I feel that we should kind of support we should support source water protection.
Would you like to move that?
Sure.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Stack? Is there any discussion about that? All in favor? That's carried. Okay, I'll just go, thanks for reminding me. I'll just go down the list. And again, jumping over one of them, and then we'll deal with it separately at the end. There's a Bosra minutes, February 2026 minutes on the agenda. Number 2 is the Godrich Harbor expansion. Oh, sorry, Vice Deputy.
Yeah, Mayor Charbonneau spoke to me today about this one, and it's 12.2, pardon me, it's 12.7.2 Godrich Harbor expansion for the funding application of the provincial government for the construction of an agrodome. And Bruce County Council recently passed a resolution to support Godrich's application for that funding application. And there are many good reasons. You've read it anyway, so I won't read them all to you, but in their motion, there's some good information in there about the benefits of an agrodome and how it's important to our local agricultural community. And so he asked me to place it on the agenda and ask council to support a motion to support Godrich's application for the construction, or for the grant application for the construction of an agrodome.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Halpin? Any comments, questions about that specifically? Then all in favor? That's carried. Okay, we then have the FONOM letter on equitable access to provincial infrastructure funding. Any comments on that one? The Municipal Buy Ontario Procurement Directive. Number 5 is the Municipal Heritage Committee minutes. Ontario Heritage Organization Development Grant Advocacy. Councillor Grace?
Thank you. Yes, I would like us to support this. It's a motion or a directive, I guess, a motion from the Township of McNabb Braeside. The Ontario Heritage Organization Development Grant is the only provincial operating grant available for nonprofit heritage organizations, including community archives and historical societies, and their maximum grant of $1,545 has been unchanged for more than 15 years. So this is asking for that amount to be increased, and I'd like us to support that.
Well, I'll thank you too, as a board member of the Historical Society in Bruce County. It would be nice if they got a little more funding too. Are there any other comments? Okay, then, oh, Councillor Grace, did I get a seconder for that? Okay, Councillor Grace moved that, seconded by Councillor Halpin. All in favor? That's carried. Request for a comprehensive review of the provincial municipal fiscal framework. Councillor Mayette?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. This is a really good letter. I read this and it encapsulates a little bit about what I was talking about, eating the elephant earlier. And this is a good example and an illustration where the province has downloaded a lot of their responsibilities bit by bit down to the municipalities. And this letter put forth by the town of Whitby illustrates that really well, where up to $4 billion of responsibility from the province has been downloaded to the municipalities. And this is calling for the province to conduct a fulsome and a full review of how that funding is done in association with AMO. So I would like to move that we support this letter as well.
Seconded by the Vice Deputy Mayor. Is there any comments to that? Councillor Halpin?
Thank you for bringing this up, Councillor. And I often like to say that development charges, a good definition for development charges is the neglect of financing from the provincial government to us. Because if they finance things the way they used to do, we wouldn't need to have such big development charges. So I'm glad this is brought up.
Anything else? All those in favor? That's carried. Saugeen Shores Police Service Board meeting minutes from January 21, 2026. Source Protection Committee letter of concern, we've already addressed that one. The Southampton BIA board minutes, February 27, 2026. And the Township of Oro Medonte support correspondence from the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors. Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Well, this was shocking to me. I mean, I know our staff take the brunt of some criticism. Sometimes our guys and women who are out there working, but this list of these threats to, you know, being a resident threatening to kill a sidewalk plow operator, or shooting a plow driver with a threatening to shoot a plow driver with a shotgun. I mean, it's just crazy. I don't know what they're asking for, if that's realistic. They're asking for municipal winter maintenance workers to be afforded enhanced protection on a par with police, fire, or paramedic services. And I don't know enough about all of that to be able to say that I support that totally, but I certainly am appalled by the list of what is what's listed here, and I hope that that doesn't go on here.
The CAO has a comment.
Through you, Madam Chair. I was going to refer to it as incivility, but as you mentioned, that's beyond incivility. Our staff are subjected to abusive and aggressive behavior from members of the public. And this council did direct that we return with both a code of conduct and an updated harassment policy. And that's scheduled to be in front of council in June of this year, and we'll address how we will handle situations like this.
Okay, there is a motion before us. Sorry, Councillor Davinsky.
Sorry. Regarding this one, Oro Medonte, through you to our works, do we have the same problems as far as our public is concerned?
In a word, no, not to this level. We do have incidents, but they're not as bad as what's cited in this correspondence. Just in general, it seems that our residents are more polite than this.
Okay, well, that's certainly good to hear. And I would support this letter as it's written, and hope we nip this in the bud. Thank you.
Are you moving that?
I can do so, thank you.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Duhaime. Any further discussion? Councillor Grace?
Yeah, thank you. I didn't go so far as to support the whole letter, because they're asking for, my understanding is they're asking for enhanced protection on a par with police, fire, paramedic services. And for the time being, I'm satisfied with the way that our staff is planning to handle this by looking at a code of conduct for us. I don't feel comfortable saying that we should go ahead and equate the kind of protection. I just don't know enough about that, about the police, fire, paramedic services, or what that enhanced protection is to be able to support that.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? It's defeated. Okay, so we do have a motion to receive the items that were mentioned for information. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, then we'll go back to
Madam
12.
Mayor, I'd like my vote recorded as opposed. Thank you.
It wasn't a recorded vote that was asked for.
No, but you asked all in favor, and then you didn't ask those opposed.
I did ask all those opposed.
No, you did not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm
okay.
opposed.
Okay, well, you know, to your credit, you don't always none of us put our hands up high enough all the time to be seen. So sorry, Councillor Davinsky, I didn't see your hand go up or not go up. So my apologies. Anyway, okay, then 12.86 is about the Nuclear Innovation Institute. So there would be a motion that item 12.8.6 be received for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Mayette, seconded by Councillor Grace. Is there any discussion? Councillor Mayette?
Yeah, while we're on the NII, I'd just like to say the NII does do a lot of things. It might not always be apparent, but they've been a great help for the Sparks Training Center. I've got a tour scheduled with them later in May with a group from the Governor General's office. And they do a lot of things behind the scenes. They run the Clean Energy Alliance. Their work isn't always recognized, but it is good work nonetheless. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? That's carried. Okay, we have item 13 is a motion to endorse for the advocacy for extension of provincial deadline for notices of intention to designate listed heritage properties. I'd welcome Councillor Grace to introduce the motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The reason this is coming this way as opposed to normally we would see the town of Lincoln's resolution in our list of communications, and it didn't come to us for some reason. We happened to see it in the Municipal Heritage Committee through a separate heritage newsletter. And so what this is about is asking for an extension of the provincial deadline for notices of intention to designate listed heritage properties. Those are heritage properties that are on the Heritage Register, Municipal Heritage Register now. We have 116 on the Heritage Register. There are 16 currently provincially designated properties in our town. And the reason for this request is that there are many municipalities like ours that do not have full-time skilled heritage professionals to go through and assess the situation with those properties that are on the Heritage Register and recommend which ones we think should be designated. That currently is being done by a subcommittee of our Heritage Committee, consisting of the Vice Deputy Mayor and me and another member of the committee, and it's very time-consuming work. The deadline is January 1st, 2027. The repercussions for this, once that deadline hits, all the non-designated properties on the Heritage Register will drop off and will not be permitted to be back on there for 5 years. And those heritage listed properties are given some measure of protection in that they are also subject to the 60-day waiting period for demolition permit. So that gives people time, theoretically council as well, to say if there's a property that is not designated, but that's on the Heritage Register, that's really important, that we think we should take steps to preserve, then that gives council or members of the public time to do that. So that's what we're doing, writing a letter to the ministry asking for that deadline to be extended. Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion, a recommendation that council adopt the resolution as attached. It was circulated as part of the agenda. The council adopt the resolution as attached, excuse me, requesting that the province of Ontario extend the deadline for municipalities to issue notices of intention to designate listed heritage properties, and that this resolution be sent to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Tourism, Culture and Sport, the local member of provincial parliament, Community Heritage Ontario, and other Ontario municipalities for information and support. It's moved by Councillor Grace, seconded by Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt. Is there any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? That's carried. So we have two bylaws. Bylaw, I'm at 15 on the agenda, bylaw 40-2026, the Chesley Street Docking Committee lease agreement, and 15.2, which is bylaw 41-2026 to authorize water service bylaw and agreement with Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation. There's a recommendation that bylaws 40-2026 and 41-2026 are hereby read, passed, and sealed this 27th day of April, 2026. And I have a mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Mayette, seconded by Councillor Halpin. Are there any questions or comments to the bylaws? Councillor Mayette, or Councillor Halpin, sorry.
Thank you, and through you. I was going to say this earlier when that came up, but I think that, you know, at every meeting we read a land acknowledgement. I think our water thing shows that we are cooperating, and we've had a cooperative spirit, and I'm glad for the leadership of this town to be doing that, the past leadership that did this. So thank you.
That leadership is on all of us too. So it's a good comment. Anything else? Seeing none, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? That's carried. There's a recommendation that bylaw 42-2026, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read, passed, and sealed this 27th day of April, 2026. Is there a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt, seconded by Councillor Grace. All in favor? Anybody opposed? That's carried. Now for the adjournment, the recommendation is that this regular council meeting of April 27th, 2026 hereby adjourns at 10:08. Is that the right time? 10:08 p.m. Mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Stack, seconded by Councillor Mayette. All in favor? Anybody opposed? We'll note that Councillor Halpin was opposed. That's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you.